breaks on the battlefield. Armor shines, blades are wielded. Dragons roar, shadows yield. Heroes stand bold and shielded. In the night, monsters creep. Torches light, stakes are steep. Magic flows, secrets keep. Adventurers' promises deep. Roll the dice, we take flight. Blazing trails in dark of night. Roll the dice, hearts unite. In the quest we find our light. Dungeons hold ancient lore. Whispers cold from days of yore. Riddles old, treasures stored. Champions chase, legends war. Through the storm, we fight on. Wizards cast, we're never gone. Epic tales till the dawn. Our spirits bright lead us on. In the light of the moon's glow, in our hearts we know every path that we sow. Tales of valor grow. Hold ancient war. Whispers cold from days of yore. Riddles old, treasures store. Champions chase, legends war. Through the storm, we fight on. Wizards cast, we're never gone. Epic tales till the dawn. Our spirits bright lead us on. In the light of the moon's glow. In our hearts we know every path that we sow. Tales of valor grow, grow.
And welcome everyone to another edition of our awesome D&D campaign, our world, our fun-filled adventure. And we are just going to do something a little different tonight. We're going to do something that we're going to call a campfire session. The players they're on the heels of a battle that they just dealt with. We're going to do a little bit of a recap. We're going to talk tonight. And then we're going to do a little call-in. And we're going to have some people on panel that we're just going to talk some D&D shop with. And we're going to have some fun. So how are my players doing tonight?
Good.
Awesome.
Good.
I'm doing all right.
I'm glad. I know we had a lot of fuckery the last battle. Miss Kiwi Skirt has watched, and she was very much enjoying the fuckery that we had afoot last game. So let's just hop into it. Let's say what's up to the chat first. See who we got with us tonight. Oh, Snitch, you're falling off your game.
Uh-oh.
No fireballs. Kiwi.
Well, I was a bit diseased today, so I decided to let someone else win.
Kiwi's first to the punch. Thank you, Kiwi. Yes, join the Discord. If you're not part of the Discord, just follow that link that Kiwi put up, and pretty much anything game related, D&D related, you can find in the Discord. Then we have our awesome Nikki with us. What's up, Nikki? My mom had so much fun with you in the last stream. She keeps talking about you and the Dominic the Donkey song. So she thoroughly enjoyed you very much.
Very fun stream, guys.
It was. Yes, Lindsay. Mom introduced Dominic the Donkey to the world.
Oh man.
Yeah. It was very, very interesting. So everybody found a new song that they're just.
It's like the Christmas song.
It's just in time for the holiday season.
Song.
Yes. Nobody knew what Dominic the Donkey was, but they know now.
Oh boy.
Who else we got? Yes, I see Mr. Phillip. Philip will be joining us in a little while. He is a seasoned D&D DM. He has been playing since the 70s, and we are going to pick his brain a little bit tonight, and he's going to tell us about some of his awesome experiences. So he will be jumping on panel with us a little bit later tonight after we finish talking about our recap and things to come and what you guys are going to be doing next. And I think I got everybody. So yes, I got everybody for now. So Ilanth was not with us the last game. So why don't you guys catch him up to your adventures with Loth and tell him what you guys did the last game and what happened to poor Lila.
Oh my goodness, there was so much going on. Oh gosh, where did we begin? We ended up finding a key in the town. We had to go on some adventures and help some folks. We helped a nymph before all this fuckery. We did all kinds of things, but we found the key, and we thought we were going to get the better of who we didn't know the barmaid was exactly, but we knew she was somebody powerful. But she still turned out to be Loth. She totally captured us in her own way. But I was very upset. We had a whole plan. We were being stealthy, and she found us.
Danos, you skipped our oh gracious Lord Bitey.
I know. I see him bringing that to my attention. I didn't skip you, Bitey. I didn't see you, and I went back. You weren't in there, so I didn't skip you. I didn't see you.
You did. You just don't like him. You don't like that he gives us our pluses.
I love Bitey. He's just my D&D nemesis.
Well, just because you chose the wrong god, you know.
Yes, I bow to darkness.
Yeah.
Abraxas is my dark lord. You are right. But welcome, Bitey. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us tonight. And they were begging for you last week. They missed you in the chat. That's for sure.
They did.
And so yes, you guys discovered that there was another part to the key to release the Dark Dragon Brothers within the town. And Loth got a little pissed off and decided to take Lila hostage. He poisoned her and demanded that the group turn over the key or Lila was going to die. And the group graciously handed over the key and saved Lila's life. I know. Are you grateful, Lila? I know you're grateful.
Are you, Lila?
I am very, very grateful. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It took you a long time, but it's okay. It took you guys a little longer than I was expecting, but it's okay.
Sacrifice something good. Better make it worth it.
She was a little scared for a minute.
Yeah, I was for a second.
Probably more of the curry.
Right.
But yes. So tonight we're just going to kind of discuss what you guys are going to be doing next and the couple of battles to come and where you guys are going to be moving forward. And then we'll jump into just some D&D house talk. So Scarlett, I know that Ty, I get very have the game names. I know that you were looking at the map and you had some awesome ideas of what you and the group should possibly maybe think about doing. So would you like to kind of put your ideas out there of what you were thinking?
Oh, yep, I picked the wrong map. Hang on, I was trying to find our map. Where's our map of... There it is. Alright, guys. Actually, let me just... If I still have it, I'm going to share my screen. Because there are some properties and things I believe Data's going to open up to us. As well as we know at some point we're leaving this territory and having to move on. And it appears as if the only way to move on from this territory is by sea. I'm almost there to pull this up. I'm
Correct.
sorry. And I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. All right. So we know. All right. So we're in Wallsfar, and I believe at some point we're going to have to go. We don't have the bigger map yet. I got to get the bigger map. but there is the cluster of islands is sort of over here away from us, just to the left.
Yes.
And we're going to have to get a boat. But before then, we're going to probably end up going up above us. So there's some land above us to the side of us. So there's some land masses that we're going to have to hit. And I believe Hay Flats is where we have to go to sort of make a ship.
Yes.
But we got to have a port. Guys, we got to have a port. We got to have our own harbor. And I don't know how y'all feel about it, but at some point we might want to check out that one by Wallsfar that we had met the Soul Sisters at. Because I believe if we look at our key down here, let me scroll back down here, we get these little, the ashes say destroyed or taken over. Well,
Yes.
if it's destroyed, then that means it's just, I wouldn't say free land, but nobody has it under their claim. So it has a price tag on it for us to claim it if we want to. And perhaps we have other lands like some of these over here that are just destroyed towns that are just up for the taking. They got some mountains that there's no telling what you could do with them. And then there's something over here. It's got two. It's the only thing on here, I believe, that has two of our asterisks on it.
Yes.
I think I'm saying that right. Yeah. It's been taken over. It might be the last settlement that we have to clear in this land.
Yes.
But there's lots of opportunities for us to decide what kind of, there's all kinds of ports that are sort of open for grabs to pay for. There's towns that we can do things if we want to create our own towns, or not create them, but if we want to get these towns up and running for other things, if we need to come back here. There's all sorts of stuff for us to do.
There very much is. So I have opened up the world building to the players. And essentially with world building, that basically means that they can purchase property, they can build property, they can become store owners or business owners within the world and earn income. But with the income comes responsibilities that, you guys are going to have to take on when it comes to certain things like the tavern that Ty acquired for you guys.
Like
There's going to be cost to running that. And I think that it's a great idea. It's a base of operations for you guys. You guys can have a room. You guys can store stuff. You can always go back because one of the portals is beneath it with Korgoth's portal stone. So I think it's very smart that she snagged it, but you guys are going to have to rebuild it because there is some damage to it. You're going to have to hire people to maintain it and run it and do stuff. So you guys are going to have to decide if that's something you want to take on.
Do we have to pay Tom Nook for our house?
Well, you have to pay in the sense of where there's going to be taxes, there's going to be upkeep and maintenance, and every week you will either gain a profit or you will gain a loss. And we will discuss that if this is a route you guys are willing to take and want to take on. But it's going to be a lot in adding into the main story for you guys because it's just going to be another aspect that you guys are going to have to keep up with.
I wouldn't mind going in on it with somebody.
Oh yeah, I definitely, at least the tavern for now, and we can always sell it later if we decide to like something different. We're moving on, but I think it's a good investment, maybe at least for the short term.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys want to let go of the tavern, I'll take full ownership of it then because I do not want to let it go.
Snitch, loving it. He's loving that. But yes, it's an 18-room inn. So, and it has the main bar, which you guys were in. And it's yours if you're willing to maintain it.
Yeah, like I said, I'm willing to do it as long as somebody goes in on it with me.
For sure. I'm with Lila.
Yes, Kiwi. It is definitely going to get a lot heavier, a lot more realistic. A lot more is going to be happening in the storyline.
And I agree with Philip. Yes, I want to secure at least this harbor next to us, and that town that is right by the mountain.
I would say anything that has a portal, that's where I more want to.
Well, the Walls Far we can't take,
Well, I'm
but
just
the tavern I definitely want to.
Well, the
Put it
tavern
on.
has a portal in it.
Well, that's what I'm
So-
saying.
Morgoth is about halfway to being able to create portals himself. He has to claim a certain number of portals before he can learn how to make them himself. But he's pretty much almost there. So soon he will be able to make his own portals, and then you guys can place them wherever you want.
So this is more of a side question. With that portal stuff, does he have to be there with us for us to use the portal to kind of?
No, he does not have to. He can basically kind of attach your essence to where if you need to go through it yourself, you can, but he is the only one who can claim them and create them.
Gotcha. Now, what happens if our alignment changes? When you say essence, would it be like, would that affect it? So if, like, hypothetically, if somebody were to go to the dark side,
Yes.
that would that person still be able to use the portal?
No.
Gotcha.
So he would be able, if Abraxas tries to come through a portal that he created, is that possible or no?
Abraxas? Possibly.
So he can kind of like pop up in a portal that we create.
Well, he is the most powerful within the world. So maybe not at first, but certainly he can learn how to manipulate them if he so chooses.
Okay. I wasn't sure. Like,
So we still have to be a little strategic where we place these portals.
yeah, they
as well.
can't be like out in the middle of like.
Correct.
They can't be.
Well,
like,
we
in
don't
the
want to
middle
make
of
him in
the
a
town.
hidden spot where he can build an army or.
Yeah, but you also don't want to put it right in the middle of the town where it's like.
Yeah.
Correct.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to go deep on that. I was just
It's okay. But yeah, so I have all the breakdown of what the world building is going to be, and I will be getting that up into the Discord, and like the breakdown of cost, maintenance, all of that stuff. I will be transitioning over. I just have to adjust some things because they are the numbers are from your level, your prior game when you were much stronger. So I'm going to just adjust things a little bit more to the level that you're at right now. Kind of like how I did with the enchanting crystals. So we will be entering all that into the Discord at some point by the end of this holiday. So you guys can get all that information. And now my next thing I kind of wanted to discuss with you guys was I'm going to be implementing some changes into some of the gameplay that we're going to be doing going forward. Because I was picking wonderful Philip's brain, and he brought up some pointers that I'd like to start implementing. But we will discuss more of that, together. And I just want to make sure that you guys understand that all the changes that we're going to be implementing going forward it's going to make the gameplay more interesting, more realistic, more fun, and more balanced. So I wanted to just put that out there so even you guys in the chat and everybody who watches afterwards understands that going forward things might look a little different. We might be playing a little differently, implementing some new tools and new guidelines, but we're still going to be the same awesome campaign that you guys have been watching from the beginning. And so yeah, I'm going to leave the floor up to you guys. Is there anything you guys want to discuss about the last game, or Ilanth, if there's any questions you have, in regards to what the group been through, because you've been kind of off questing from your book you found from Coralon.
In the background, you mean? Like while you guys
Yes.
are doing your thing? Got it. Is there any info like that I picked up along the way that I should know about?
Yes, and I will give you all that information, but I just didn't know if there's any questions you had about what they went through last week or anything knowledge you are looking for from your party members.
Well, so you guys said that you fought Lolth and won.
No, well,
Yeah,
we were getting maybe a slightly better hand of her, and she got mad, and she took Lila and threatened us, and threatened Lila, and she almost killed her, and we got scared. We had to give up the key.
You stabbed me.
She did. She with Abraxas's blade, the part they have.
Right. Oh yeah, that
And
with
I-
like the handle or the piece of it or something like
The
that.
tip of it, I
The
believe.
tip. Yeah.
Yes.
And I
That's so terrible.
and I gave my cure potion to her because I was being a good Samaritan.
Yes, you did.
All right. So basically, we just need to get that key. somehow.
Well, we can't really get it. She's gone. We raged on the rest of the shadow creatures that were battling on the outside, that came into the town or whatever, because we were down underneath the tavern, and so we somewhat cleared off pretty much this land of the majority of the shadow creatures. There's still probably some pocket like people running off and stuff like that here and there.
Okay.
But yeah, we lost 2 keys. There's one I think left that we have to try to
There's
stop.
2 more left.
Two more. I'm sorry.
Okay. And we do know where they are, or no?
No, nobody knows where
Okay.
they are until they're revealed. Like, it's the way it is, I believe, is they're basically hidden to even the families that are entrusted to them until their memory is sort of jarred, and then they're still not even supposed to reveal it unless there's something given to them that only they know, like a charm that lets them know that you were someone there to help them. Like, it's like dire straits.
Okay.
Otherwise, nobody, not even Abraxas, knows where they're cloaked in a sense with ruins from Coraline, I believe.
Yes.
And so, yeah, but once they're sort of out of their, and I don't know how to say, their enclosure, or where they're kind of kept with those ruins, I believe then it becomes noticeable to those who have the powers to see them, the
Okay.
magic to sense it.
So if I'm understanding correctly, if Coraline knows where one of the things is to jog their memory, am I able to just ask him, since he's my god?
Ah.
Maybe.
Very, very, very much so.
Okay, I'll do that then.
You could certainly do something like that. But as far as this territory goes, in that town of Greymount where the 2 asterisks were, that is the last stronghold of the shadow creatures within this territory. If you can defeat them and take back that town, you have fully cleared this territory. And then that opens up the pathways of people coming here, fleeing, keeping it safe, and you've basically reclaimed this territory for Canoriessa and the Side of Light.
Okay, sounds like a cool side quest.
So
do it.
that's what you guys have to decide tonight, what you guys are going to do as far as next the next 2 sessions, Thursday and Saturday of next week. So I know that Iolanth, you are not with us on Thursdays, but Saturday we will definitely be going somewhere. So it's up to you guys what you guys are trying to do.
I don't know.
So what are you guys thinking?
I know that I believe Korgoth needs to visit up in this area before we venture too far away from the lands, but we also need to go over here. Might want to secure a few things. And then what was it? I'm trying to remember. Who was it that there was at least 2 of y'all have to go to Hayflat, right?
Yeah, that would be me and Lila.
Okay. So we have at
And I
least
believe Islanth.
So I almost want to say we should maybe go Saturday for there.
Yeah. Okay.
Hold on, I'm just looking in the Discord. Request.
so we just have to decide while we're
Yes, Lila's the town of Hayflat.
Korgoth can easily, I believe, get
Islanth
here.
is the town of Hayflat, and Snitch is the town of Hayflat.
So yeah, maybe
Hey,
Saturday.
Star.
Hi, my darling.
Hello, Star.
I believe there's a portal up in that we claimed around in the mountain area of this town. Korgoth should be able to easily, I would think, get here maybe, or at least somewhere. I don't know if it was in the mountain or just outside the mountain. I can't remember where the portal was. I have to go back and look in the Discord.
I will tell you right now.
I don't know.
It was swamp. It just says the Afa Mountains. I have to ask Korgoth exactly where, but it was, yes, either right outside the mountains or within the mountain.
Or if he wants to take a horse or something and ride up there, because it's just the grasslands. It doesn't seem like it's before we go to Hayflat. And then I don't know if I just more trying to figure out, like, because I would think while we're securing maybe the port and getting the tavern and whatever else we need to do here in Wallsfar before we really venture too much farther, he can go up there and start whatever he needs to do with his whisper or his quest. And then we just have to decide if we want to go to Greymount or Hayflat next.
So you want to split up? That's what you're saying?
I'm not necessarily saying split up. I just mean, like, I don't know if y'all want to go to or go with Korgoth, we can.
Basically, I think what she's saying is, do you want to go secure your ship first that you need to leave the territory, or do you want to go and just balls to the wall, fully free this land and just knock out Greymount first?
I think we should do that.
Yeah, it makes more sense to just finish out whatever is left, and then we're free to do whatever.
Yeah.
Secure the area and then do all our side quests first.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So Thursday night, I say that Korgoth should go secure his whisper. You guys should go to the port and clear out whatever shadow creatures might be remaining at the port. Secure your claim on the port, at least get that done. And then Saturday night, you guys can venture into Greymount.
Yeah.
I would like to go with Korgoth.
You guys can all go with Korgoth, and if you want to venture into a new town. I'm almost done with the map, so I will be getting that map up into the Discord as well this weekend. So you guys can all go venture into the town if you want to. That's completely your choice as a group, what you want to do, because there will certainly be things that might be interesting to you in the town. So it's completely your. But there might be some staggering, lingering shadow creatures and bad guys just kind of floating around the port. So before you can fully claim that, you might have to just clear it out.
That's why I say worst case is Korgoth gets in trouble. I'll at least be there with him. And you guys are competent by yourself.
Aww.
Okay, so we will set it up to where Thursday will be Korgoth dealing with his whisper, and then you guys claiming the port. And then Saturday, you guys will be going to Greymount, fully clearing out the last stronghold that's within the territory. And then you guys will be making your way to Hayflat to secure your boat to get to the next part of your adventure.
So, question. Now, this might, whether you guys wanted to change it up or not, the only thing I'm thinking of is there may be a portal there in Greymount.
Worst case is we have a portal at walls far. It would just take horse travel to get there to you. You would just have to secure it until then.
No, yeah. Then you guys would just have to go along that the Fagro trail to get to us.
Exactly.
All right. So then, if anything, we just have to. One of us has to give a calling crystal. So if there is one there, then we can.
I have plenty of them.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so
Can I and whoever, if you guys pull out the ring of Loth and show it to Ilant that we found during the battle on one of the, I believe, the high priestess,
absolutely.
and I hand it over to him.
Ilan, do a history check for me, please.
Okay. I forgot what my history stat is. 17.
And that's with you adding all your numbers to that?
Well, my history stat, right?
And did you roll your d20?
Yeah, I got a 4.
Ah, okay, makes sense.
Damn.
I was just wondering that now I get it. So basically, as you take the ring and you look at the ring, you definitely recognize it to be the sigil of Loth. And from what you know about this ring, it is definitely a way for Loth to give her high priestesses a very powerful boost in their magic. And that it is a way to, it's almost like it's a beacon to something. You're not quite sure what it's a beacon to, but you can sense that it allows entry to somewhere.
So like a key to a portal.
Possibly. You don't know just yet. Your history was a little too low, but you do know that it's definitely a beacon to something or a key to something.
Okay. That's a start.
I also then hand him the unknown pendant that I found on her as well.
So once again, please roll a history check for me.
Okay. 19.
We're crawling up there. We're crawling up there. We're getting there. So
yeah, in increments of 2.
You do recognize that it is something that you've seen in the book that you discovered from Coralon. And from what you can tell with this, it's almost like a pin that it is, how do I put it? It is a new form of coven, so to speak. And from what you know, that Loth has stepped outside of just her drow. And she's giving this pin to loyalists of all races to her.
Okay. She's forming some kind of armada.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that makes sense. She did try taking over a town along with Abraxas. And while they do plan on trying to destroy the world, so it makes sense for one to make an armada.
So you kind of hint to look out for this pin or this pendant of sorts as a way to identify maybe loyalists to Loth.
I'm going to go ahead and clip one of them into my little coat. Because I did pick one up during the battle.
Yeah, I believe there was 2 of them that you guys discovered.
I picked up 2, I'm pretty sure. Let me check my notes real quick.
Because I think the priestess had one, and I believe the Drider had one. And it's basically a way for them to identify each other.
No, I only picked up one. Because all I looted was the
Then
Drider.
Ty had the other one, because I know there was 2 floating around.
Wasn't
Go ahead,
Was one
Olga.
on the mage?
I don't remember if you guys picked up one from the mage. That would be a question for Korgoth because he's been keeping track of that.
Gotcha. And he's off trying to get his beholder.
Yeah, his beholder's chasing chickens.
There's all that blood and rage in the battlefield. He's just out there having a good time. All the bodies.
Yes. So do you guys have any further questions before I drop the link and open it up?
Iolans, do you know of a disease that would cause an endless ticking in your skull to drive someone mad?
Oh, like
curious.
a headache?
No, way worse than a headache. It stays with you constantly.
I can find out if I do.
Would you like to examine me then?
I would like to. Let's see what's in your head.
Go ahead, roll a history check.
Oh boy. All right, a little better. 27.
There you go. So kind of as he's describing to you what he's been dealing with, you definitely recognize it as there's something buried within him that is, it's almost itching and scratching to come out.
Okay, that sounds like a mind flayer.
I do gotta say I've been rather hungry lately, and well, my normal bloodlust has increased dramatically, and I've been trying to keep it under control for you all, but it gets a bit boring.
And Iolanth passes you a small vial of a potion or an elixir that he thinks will help you until they can further investigate, until he can do some more research for you.
All right, I take the potion and I drink it.
And you immediately start to feel somewhat at ease.
How do you like my delicious concoction?
Something like my wife would make, but yeah.
I could be your work wife.
Yeah, you would never surpass her. Sorry.
So,
Can't you see it now? The wood elf and the little goblin.
so you said you're having an increase in bloodlust?
Oh yes. Currently, I want to rip your throat out, but I, restrain myself, of course.
Oh my God.
Borderline just want to stomp you.
Now, boys.
Oh, trust me, I know that was a bit rude to say, but it's what I feel. And you asked, so I answered you honestly.
As the little goblin breaks his neck to look up to you, Aldrath.
I get one of my zombies to pick me up and piggyback me.
How many would you have to stack just to get eye level with me?
Well, they're normal human size, so probably 2 of them. I mean, I don't know how tall you are.
About 7 feet tall.
Yeah, I would only need 2 of them.
You're probably like the size of your pinky.
You could make like a wall of zombies like in World War Z. They all climb on top of each other.
Zombies, pyramid formation, go! As they start doing
And he
a
just
cheerleader
climbs.
act.
He just climbs, and he's like, even though I want to rip out your throat, we're still good. Yep, we're still good.
And what other symptoms do you have?
Well, I don't really sleep, as you know. So I guess severe insomnia?
Yeah, otherwise how am I going to know if you...
Ty could certainly help you with that. She can whip you up a little sleep aid.
Yeah. I will tell you, though, every time I do go to sleep, I regret it. So, no, thank you. I'll just sleep for the little 5 minutes I do.
So, I don't know if I'm how nervous I should be. You're trying to wanting to at least rip anybody's throat out, or at least.
Yeah,
you shouldn't be worried, but you are definitely on guard.
At least I'm telling you about it.
True.
So at least that should count for something, that I don't want to rip out your throat. It's just I have need to.
You need to. Would
Yep.
I'm gonna ask the party, does anybody else know any type of symptoms like that? Have anybody would Tissio maybe would maybe be able to talk to Tissio or the goddess of knowledge? Would she have any insight onto?
The goddess of knowledge, no, because it's not something of this world.
Okay.
But Tissio is not here yet, but certainly when he joins back up with you, you could certainly ask him.
Ever since last night's slaughter, I've been in overdrive lately.
Can we go
Especially
to
ever
the?
since my wife went missing.
Oh,
What
could
happened?
you want to go to the clerics and see if maybe they have some books at the temple, or
Good idea.
Why not? It could be fun.
we could venture to the clerics if you guys want to and
Yeah.
make sure everything's okay. And
Unfortunately,
you're
I have
okay.
great doubt because the only thing that's ever stopped this ailment is my wife. But I will still give it a fair shot.
So, what do you mean? Only thing that stopped this ailment? How long have you had this?
Ever since about when did all my parents and family die again? Around when I was like 5.
It just
Maybe 3.
started.
I'm
It
not
just
too sure.
the elements just started. There was nothing that other than like anything. Did somebody put something on you, or was this just like out of the tragedy?
No, not that I know of. And
Hmm.
trust me, I don't really care about that stuff. Ever since I was young, I've always known that I didn't really care about death. It's just a means to an end. But, oh well.
I'll look and see what rituals.
His wife kind of always just kept him on the straight and narrow.
Yep. That's why I try and do charitable acts every now and then, but it's real hard.
Mm.
What's up, Caleb? How are you doing tonight? Thank you for popping in.
None of the rituals. Actually, Ty, I know you got a bunch of rituals, ritual scrolls and everything. Do you have anything that might be able to detect magic? Maybe he was hexed or anything along those lines. Do you have something that way?
Interesting.
Ooh, I do not remember if I do. Let me look.
If not, you being the wizard or a part wizard, Snitch, would you be able to teach her the ritual for detecting magic? So maybe we can check and see if you've been hexed or anything along those lines.
Well, I have actually done this procedure quite a amount of times on myself. But, I guess sure, why not?
Maybe you can't detect it off of yourself. Maybe it's something.
I've had scholars, I've had some of the smartest wizards I know do it. And trust me, I didn't go to no bum of a wizard in Eberron. Trust me, I sought help from everyone. And I have very little doubts, but I'll still try.
Interesting.
And Iggit holds his hand up. He's like, I need to excuse myself for one moment. As I would walk away, to where no one could see me for a minute. And then I just start stabbing the heck out of a tree. And after I'm done cooling off, I would walk back. Anyway, you may continue.
A little bit of a temper there, huh?
Well, not temper. Are we sure?
Anger issues?
Is he able to? Now I'm going to look at the rest of the party and kind of say, are we going to have to chain him up if we're sleeping shifts?
You're free if you like, but I don't have enough time to work then since my hands are tied. And that's what I do with all my time. I just work. Keeps my head distracted for a bit.
Okay.
We walk into the clerics. Maybe they'll see, let's see what they say. Maybe they have something to help us with the situation.
Sure.
So we trot over to the temple. We trot over to the temple to see if Oh, who remembers their names? I don't.
Dayan and Alondra.
Dan and Alondra are at the temple.
Yes. And do history checks for me, please.
Okay.
Everybody or just Ty and
I figure I'm not.
Whoever's looking to ask the question.
Oh, I rolled low as hell. I rolled a 3. Hang on, let me get lost.
Oh my God, you guys, your histories have been awful tonight.
Come on, guys. Get smarter.
22.
I also got a 22.
I'm trying to
So we
get rid of my ailment.
walk in and walk up to the clerics and hey guys, how's it been? It's been a day, right? I hope everybody's doing okay and the cleanup's not too bad, but we kind of have a situation. Our friend here, Snitch, has been complaining of some ailments, and they're quite alarming. Iolanthe has been asking some questions, and so has some of the other party members, but we're just trying to figure out what his ailments could be from, and they're slightly violent in nature.
And Alondra, she greets you with a nice hug because she's just super friendly, and she's just, I'm so glad that all of you survived, and our town is going to heal. Our healing temple is full to capacity, but we are doing the best to make sure that everybody is tended to, and our dead are being prepared for the ritual ceremony to bury them, and we will grieve our losses in due time. But without you, I fear that there would have been more loss than we could have handled. So we will be burying our dead at sunset tonight. If you'd like to join us and say goodbye, we would gladly have you join us in our ritual for the dead.
Absolutely.
Again, after hearing that, needs to leave the room again. Needs to take a deep breath.
So,
yes, these stitches. He's a little on edge right now, and we're trying. Yeah, we're not sure. Somebody go check on Snitch.
I'll go out and check on him.
And as you guys figure out, what's going on with Snitch, Snitch comes back. The clerics do somewhat of an examination, and basically what they tell you is that whatever he is dealing with is tied to the cycles of the moon. They can sense that there is something within him raging to get out.
Like a monster?
Raging to get out.
They do not know because they've never seen something like this, but from what they could tell, that there's something within him tied to the cycles of the moon.
Do they know how much longer we have until it hits that phase?
To the next full moon, which will be happening in 4 days' time.
It's fine.
So in 4 days, we're basically going to have this guy locked up in chains and
yeah, we're tying him up.
Yeah,
I'm shrinking him, putting him in a pouch, and tying my pouch up.
Well, we have learned that by doing that, he will suffocate.
Yep. I can't breathe. Help me.
Oh man.
Well, I thought you have like an hour or something like that.
It's not. It's an hour, but not very long.
I prefer to breathe. Thank you very much. Just plop me out in the middle of woods in the middle of nowhere. Let me have my little issue there.
So
I'm sure nothing bad will happen.
Can I roll an insight check to see if he knows if I can at least get the idea that he knows what this is and he's just not being forthcoming?
No, he does not know.
Okay.
Nope. Why would I lie? Come on, you don't trust me?
We'll see you a little later, Kiwi.
Goodbye, Kiwi.
Well, you seem. Why do you feel like you have to go to the woods?
Well,
what are you doing?
A lot of bad things happen in the forest, and I figured it would just be another bad little thing, and I'll be fine.
Well, aren't we a party? We're supposed to be here for each other.
Well,
And I put the link in the chat, so anybody who wants to come up and join the panel, you can feel free to do so. Just follow that link and it will bring you to the panel.
well, that's up to you, Mr. Dragonborn. I know you don't. I don't want to exactly hurt you. Well, that's a lie. But I don't. I need you, is what I'm trying to say.
Why can't we all just get along?
I do. I do try my best to get along with you.
He's trying, but unfortunately they have discovered that he is definitely cursed with something, but to what they do not know.
Okay.
But yep, the link is there in the chat for anybody who wants to come on panel and discuss D&D with us and have some good old fun and conversation with us. So,
well, I don't know if you guys can go into my mind and maybe you are a dream walker, yes, or trying to be, Ty.
I'm working on it. I haven't studied much yet. I haven't had time, but yeah, I'm supposed to be working on that soon. Maybe. I mean, I have to get Adela to help me with it for now because she hasn't taught me the ways.
Well, is Adelaide feeling better?
We'll have to go check on her. I have to find out if she was staying in the temple. I asked the clerics if they know where Adelaide might.
unfortunately, Adelaide went back to Rohill to gather some supplies because she will be joining you in your next ventures. So she went back to check on her coven and her tavern, and she will be back at first dawn.
Well, that's a shame.
Can we
Am I
ask?
still recovering from this stab wound that I got?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I ask? Is Valerie and Sibley and the third one? Sibley, Valerie. who's the third one?
Valerie's sister.
Yeah. Well, what's the name?
For her name.
Shara?
Shara. Thank you. I always forget her name. Are they still there, or did they leave as well?
No, they're still there.
Do we think that they might be able to?
You're really trying to figure out what this is. That
Well,
Stitch has.
of course, it's something that can.
I know.
Come,
I'm just saying. It's not a bad thing.
do you want to find?
I'm not saying it's a
I'm
bad
just
thing.
saying.
I'm just
He's saying he's having a migraine. It's something.
That's not a migraine.
I thought you said it was like a pain in your head,
Never-ending pain.
a never-ending pain.
Yes, it is. Except it's not. It's a noise. As it starts tapping, he goes tap 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 tap, and it's endless.
It's like
And
an
it's
old
picking at my brain slowly.
Are we sure that you drank all the parasite worm stuff? Make sure.
It sounds like a
This
brain
happened.
pucker.
This happened before. The whole wormy business. Well, I mean, if anybody could go into my mind, they probably could hear it.
That I do.
I
not.
have been warned, though. Last time someone did that, they went a bit crazy.
I can't go into any range.
Aw, a shame.
Yeah. I think the only one that would be able to be is Ty.
Yeah.
Well, practice makes perfect, Ty.
No, no, you go crazy. I mean, I could try if y'all really want me to.
Worst cases, you go a bit crazy too, but that's okay. Well, actually, it isn't, but oh well. I should really keep my thoughts to myself, shouldn't I?
I'm just trying to look at my sheet. because it deals. Great. All right, I'm just looking this up.
Yes, you
Because
know.
I know if you go to sleep now, you said you don't go to sleep, so we have to put you to sleep, and then I know
Well, I can do
can,
my best. I just have to actually try.
and then I can dream walk. I'm
Yes,
pretty
you
sure. I'm
can
trying
skip
to look
me.
up exactly.
Just talk amongst yourselves for 2 seconds.
I'm just double checking exactly how it works. So yeah, pretty much for now, I think I have to be like right up on you to do it. But yeah, if you go to sleep and I go to sleep, I can attempt it.
Okay, just give me a second. As it will just stand there and close his eyes.
Currently I can only do this for an hour though.
Oh, that'll be more than enough time. I'll probably wake up in 5 minutes.
Alrighty.
Igit will proceed to summon a little figurine and kind of just hold it in his hand a bit. It's
What
alive, obviously.
what did you just did I catch whatever he just did? Was it like a secret thing?
No, I did it out in the open.
Okay.
You'll see me at this with when I'm ever sleeping.
I'm just trying to say okay. So you won't see me right away, but when we get in there, I'll find you.
Okay.
I'm
Good
just
luck,
waiting
Scarlet.
for Dana to wait.
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, okay. All right.
Good luck,
So,
Scarlet. Don't go crazy on me yet.
well, everybody likes to go a little crazy every now and again.
Yeah, isn't that true? Hey, don't root it around too much. That's what happened to the last guy. And, well, he's currently in a penitentiary.
All right. So we're doing. You want to do this where we're at in the temple? Right. All right.
Wherever you feel comfortable.
All right. Here we go. I'm gonna lay down close to you so that this hopefully works.
Yep, and how it's going to work is you are going to do history checks, and for every history check that I deem successful, you'll be able to ask Snitch a question, and he will have to answer honestly.
Okay.
I don't even know the questions I'm asking. Oh no! Oh gosh! This is going to be a total fail. That's okay. All right. So when we go under,
Is this just I and him? Do we all know about this, or
Well,
No,
I said it in
because
front of
only
all of you.
Ty is in the dream world with him.
gotcha?
And I see that we have, I think Philip popped in.
oh, sorry, I was looking at.
There he goes.
I'm not sure, but
And welcome to Philip. Thank you so much for joining us.
sure. Thanks, everybody.
How are you doing this evening?
Oh, it's been a long day.
I could imagine. Well, Philip, this is Snitch, Iolanth, Alderath, your favorite little pixie in the background, Lila,
Nice.
and Scarlet, who you know. This is Philip, everyone. Say hello.
Hello.
What's up?
She's got to be different.
So I guess we'll put this on hold for right now. We'll leave this where it is because I'd love to talk to Philip and talk some D&D shop. Because I know that I was telling the players that we've had some nice discussions about some D&D stuff. And if you'd like, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Oh, Lord. Well, I've been playing since late 1979. Got to play for about 3 months when they just looked at me one night and said, "It's time for you to DM. You've got 1 hour to draw up a castle level, and we're going to go get pizza. We'll be back." And I've been playing ever since. I've probably played with well over 600 people, different groups across the nation. At one time, I saw in one of the D&D magazines, somebody brought it to my attention that somehow I was ranked 78 out of 100 DMs that were polled. And I'm like, well, I never applied. So I'm not sure if my group put me in on that or what. But we've always played first edition with a lot of second edition thrown in. I don't really like the other editions. They just want to stretch out your options so far to try and make it realistic that it's actually unrealistic, and it slows down gameplay, in my opinion. But I've played with the university where they had over 200 players. Well, I shouldn't say over because they capped it at 200. So there was 200 of us. That was an adventure. I've been with groups all around the Midwest playing in my travels. Used to be a truck driver and used to try to find games when I had layovers and stuff. And I was in the military. So I started in Germany. So I've been around the world playing this thing. If you've got any questions, I do the best I can to answer what I know.
Sure. And if you have any questions for the players based off of what you saw in our last gameplay, feel free to ask us as well.
All right. Awesome.
So I know Alderath, you must be itching at the brain. Is there anything you want to ask Philip?
Well, I guess any suggestions you can get on having our encounters maybe sped up a little bit, or because I know that's one of the things that we're trying to do. What have you done in your?
We've tried just about everything under the sun over the years, and at one time. We had for about 8 years, we had a group of 25 people, and we had nearly 25 people every single week for 8 years. So if you can imagine trying to get 25 people into a good adventure and keeping them occupied. I play my own homebrew world, and we've developed a system with time trials to where it's such a thing that it's not quests like a lot of people like to play, because what happens when you play quests or long adventures, you get people that have real life show up. People get sick, it's people can't make it. And before you know it, there's 8 people in the party and only 4 of them are there, and it may be a different 4 every week. So we come up with a system for us that worked, where they could figure out where they wanted to go on the night we were playing. They could get in, start the adventure, and when they were about done for the night, we're reaching our time limit or something, they could find their way back out and leave and go back to town to rest and do whatever else they needed to do, and we'd be all set for next week. And if half the people didn't show up, then we didn't care, because we didn't have to worry about what their characters were doing. We didn't have to run their characters. And it just seemed like a better way to do it to us.
Okay.
So that's one of the things. The other thing I've noticed just by watching, and I've only watched you play the one time. My son, who's like my encyclopedia of D&D, has played like all the different versions. And when I was telling him about your 4E, he's like, that's like one of the worst versions in his opinion. And it seemed like something that was taking you guys forever was, okay, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this. I'm checking with my dogs. I'm checking with my owl. I'm going to do this next. I'm going to do this next. and it's like each player's doing way too much. We play melee is movement based, so everybody gets to move, and then everybody gets to do their attack, or if they're not able to attack in that turn, they can pick to go ahead and move a second time, or something like that, and then that turns over, and then you go to the next movement phase, then back to melee, and then back to movement. Um, to have everybody, especially when you're playing a lot of pets, that can make things long and drawn out. But again, that's my opinion.
So knowing that the information that me and Scarlett were like sharing with you and the campaign that we're trying to run, what do you, in your opinion, what solution do you think would help us?
I think cutting down on your action, list, because 4E, from what I understand, has like a pre-action, a bunch of different actions. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I don't know it that well.
So, and I'm not trying to cut you off. I apologize.
No, you're okay. Go ahead.
With 4E, there's the standard action. You have your minor action. You have a movement action. And then you have free actions, which free actions don't typically do a whole lot. It might be to, depending on the classes and everything, it might be to reload a bow if you have a feat for it. Or it might be a free action is to regain a spell slot or something along those lines. Nothing usually, it's not usually an attack. It's more of something that helps buff your, or do something, prepares you almost, but it's usually not damage. It's usually nothing major. So your main things are standard, minor, and your movement.
Right. But the other night, what I witnessed was several things going on. Table talk, I thought was, how do I put this nicely? There's way too much table talk.
You're doing fine, Philip. This is, we are just appreciating that we can pick your brain and get someone's advice who's been playing longer than all of us pretty much combined. I'm only familiar myself with 4th edition. I've dabbled a little bit in 3.5. I played 5th edition once, and I'm opposite of your son. 4th edition to me is my favorite, just because from a writer's standpoint and what you could do with the story, I enjoy it more. And 5th edition was, I didn't enjoy 5th edition, but Snitch, he has played 5th edition more than I have. A lot of the players here, Iolanth, Lila, Ty, their 1st edition was either 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
None of us have really ever dabbled in 1st or 2nd edition.
Well,
but I do like a lot of the things that you were telling me about those editions that I would like to incorporate in what we're playing, because I think that it would work really well.
We tried to put realism into what we were doing as we pictured everything, and when you got several people that play constantly with you every week, it makes it so much easier, because everybody kind of focuses in on what they like and then what they don't like, and then when you can mix that all together, it works out pretty nice. One of the realistic things, if you've ever been in a battle, okay, if you realistically look at that, you don't see people talking clear across the room at each other, asking what they should be doing. That's, to me, a lot of slowing down the party, because now you're talking to one another, asking the DM questions. The DM's not there. You have no guidance from the DM. The DM's there for the monsters and to guideline what you're doing. But to ask questions like that and talk clear across the party like that, asking for advice, when we play, if you sit and ask somebody for advice, you're losing your turns, because that takes you time to talk to them, to get their attention, to do things like that. so that's one of the things that I see a lot of groups do is they allow a lot of table talk, and you really shouldn't have any of that. You've got a party leader that should run you as you go from place to place where you don't need any interaction except for what the party's doing as a whole. When you run into combat, that's when everybody's on their own. And if you start trying to crosstalk, that's not realistic in a real battle, because that would never happen. You lose focus. You're going to start taking hits that you shouldn't be taking because your defense goes down because you're not paying attention. So all those things come into play, and I think that could help you guys immensely on moving forward and things not taking quite so long.
So with the crosstalk, when they're in battle, if they're trying to forge a battle plan, should that be done before they, let's say, open the door and enter the room?
Absolutely. That's
And then while they're in battle, it's basically they're in charge of their own individual thing, unless they're working together. Let's say two people are combining some fire spell because it moves a pillar, and that's part of the story.
yeah, it's yeah. I know what you're getting at, because what we talked the other night is my group. We used to have them form a marching order before we ever started doing anything. So everybody would get their characters out. If it's hallways that you're going to be mostly going down, it's two abreast. If you're in a wilderness, you could usually get away with four abreast going down a road or something. But you put each of your players know exactly where they are in this lineup, and your front players watch the front. Then you'll have people in the middle of the party that will say what they're going to be watching or observing, so you don't have stuff sneak up on you. And then you've got people in the back that usually declare that they're going to be watching the back as the party moves as a whole. And this is where your party leader says, okay, we're going forward to this destination. And at that point, since that person is elected party leader, everybody just knows that's where we're going. It doesn't take any discussion to do it, unless somebody's like, wait a minute, I don't want to go. But then you're back to talking and arguing, and arguing slows down games. And then the second thing that we always did was, if we were going to be in buildings or dungeons, which most of my world's a lot of dungeons, then we have what we call a door opening procedure. That's when everybody takes their characters and you figure out who's going to check for traps on doors, if you have anybody, whether it's a magic user, cleric, whatever, that can cast, find traps, whatever. And then you have your tanks or your fighters that typically open doors. And with 25 people, we typically run through about 4 to 5 people that rotate. So that way, if there's a trap that's missed, one person's not always taking the blunt of the damage. And then you have, against the back wall behind the people opening the door, might be your archers. Or if you've got a magic user that wants to get off a spell real quick into the room if need be, that's where they sit. Then you have people on each side of the door that you declare where they're at. Then you have the people that are on the sides of them that are watching the hallways. They can't really get into the battle because the door is only so wide. You have people on the sides of the hallways that are looking for any encounters from the noise you're going to make opening doors and fighting. So they're watching so you don't get surprised by any of the monsters. And then there again, party leader takes over when you find a door, and they simply say, okay, we're going to get into door opening procedure. Everybody knows where they're supposed to be, so that's what you do. It doesn't require a lot of talking and stuff unless something needs to change because somebody's hurt, but before that, you normally know if somebody's hurt and can't do their job, then you adjust the door opening procedures, what we call it. And then once the door's opened by whoever's turn it is to open the door, it's their job to see what's in the room and then make snap decisions. Do we shut the door? Do we go into the room? they've got to be able to say what they're doing, and then everybody will follow suit on a pre-approved plan. And if it takes the party leader to say, okay, whoever opens the door would normally say something like, I don't see anything in the room. And then the party leader would say, okay, we're going to go into the room, meaning the whole party. Now, if the guy opening the door sees monsters or something else in there, he relays that back. And then that's the party leader's turn to say, okay, shut the door, and he would shut the door, whatever. But it doesn't require everybody in the party having a say so when they can't even see in the room. So that's why you elect a party leader, because they do the stuff that parties would do as a whole. And then when you get into like a battle or something, that's when you break off and you're responsible for your own characters and your own animals and such.
Interesting. So guys, what do you take from that?
Well, I mean, I definitely like a lot of what you're saying. It makes sense. And definitely going back to some of the, even just the fourth edition basic rules for our animals and what they would be considered, and really going back and thinking about some stuff that we had talked about, where you said, like, think about how did you even come across this animal? What was sort of the conversation or the details that entailed with that, to sort of kind of let you know what kind of creature this is and how is it going to respond. Like, if it is a companion, what is its intelligence? Can it even understand basic commands, or what kind of commands have you had it to where you've been able to train it to do anything, even like sit? You know what I'm saying? Like, thinking about it in that aspect is a good thing for us to really get back to.
I kept my promise. I actually researched to see what a companion requires of a character, and you have to give up one of your actions in 4E. If I remember what I read right, you have to give up one of your actions to actually tell your companion to stay, to sit, to guard. So it takes up one of your actions per animal. So if you've got like 3 different actions you're doing and you've got 3 animals, well, you don't get to do anything except tell your animals what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I
And
did
is
look
that
that
for
up.
druids as well? I not That's not for me. This is more for
Right. Well, I told you guys the other night when I talked to you. So, I mean, they don't know really what all we talked about. But yeah, that's for a companion animal. I didn't have time because my grandson's birthday was today. So I didn't get to look up
Oh, happy birthday to
spirit
him.
dogs.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. He's in playing a game, of course. But I didn't get to look up spirit animals to see what they entail. But I did on the companion dogs, or companion animals, I should say. You have to spend one of your actions in order to tell it to sit, to guard, to attack, or whatever. And that's per time that you come up on actions. So if you've got 3 companions and you only get 3 actions, you've got to decide, well, do I just let them go with what they're doing and just command one of them or 2 of them or none of them? So hopefully that might answer a few questions about that.
Star says happy birthday.
I'm like, is that what that means?
Yes.
I'm old, okay?
Oh, stop it. You're only as old as you feel.
No, don't tell me that, because I'm really freaking old then.
So what if it's just you, like a single party member? They were sent on a task to like scout, and they can't talk to their leader. What would they do then?
Well, it's not that you can't talk to your leader. It's just you to improve gameplay, you've got to remember you're in a battle. You've got all this stuff going on around you, and you stop to go, hey, should I do this? It's just not realistic. You'd never do that in a battle unless they were standing right next to you. You know what I mean? So you got to look at
Yeah.
all those things, and I think those things would improve gameplay. And if it's just you, then all you have to worry about is what you're doing.
Okay.
You can't. You have to kind of know your character and know your party members, and you can't be afraid of what you're doing is going to adversely affect them. You should already know if that will happen or not.
Yep.
You know, and that would, if you make your own decisions without having to ask all the time, I think you'll find you guys will be zipping right along.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Again, these are just my opinions. Take what you like and leave the rest.
No, I appreciate you for your opinion.
Yes. I know Alderath, he's definitely, we call him like the D&D encyclopedia. He's built the most characters, he's done the most in that aspect, to where I'm the DM and I know my stuff when it comes to my monsters, and I know I haven't played as a player in so long, so a lot of that knowledge is buried in my brain somewhere. But I know that Alderath definitely, he loves magic. That's typically, he loves the magic of the game.
Yeah.
And when it comes to casting spells and doing stuff, is the duration up to me as the DM, or is it up to, let's say, Alderath as the player saying, I'm calling forth my, just to use an example, my fireball spell?
Right.
Is
Well,
that something that he is done quickly because he's trained in it and knows how to do it, so henceforth he can call it forth quicker? Or is that something that I, as the DM, have to say, it takes 5 minutes for you to conjure it?
well, if you look at any of the spells, they should have all that information for each spell. And so it's, to me, the players always have to decide. But on something like a fireball, when it goes off, it's more instantaneous and doesn't last. You know, other than it's the end of its range. You know, then it fizzes out. But it should say how many turns it takes to
Does
cast.
it state that, Alderath? I haven't looked at a spell in so friggin' long.
Me either.
So with 4th edition, to my knowledge, is for you to it goes back to your whatever you have. So fireball is a standard action, and you can do it within a range. It does not say it takes X amount of times. The only spells that have a component cost or a duration to cast it is rituals.
Okay. See, in first edition that I always played, it had so long to cast. Like usually you could start casting at the beginning of the melee, then everybody else takes their turns, and then it goes off at the end of the melee. So, yeah, every version they come out with has something a little bit different.
What about 5th, Snitch? Is there a duration for spells?
Certain spells, yes, but most combat spells are just an action or a bonus action. Now, if it was something like there's a spell, Prayer of Heal, it kind of works like a ritual, but instead in 5th edition, every spell has a component cost in order to cast it. Now, some are limited and some are unlimited, depending on what spell it is and what the component is.
Yeah, in first edition, they all have components. Every single spell, you have to have a spell bag, we called it, you know, and you had to have all your ingredients to be able to cast what spells you knew and everything. And we pretty much kind of did away with it as long as you had a spell bag written down on your person, and either before or after the game you said, I'm going to go fill up my components. We just made every single spell go off when they wanted to cast it, because we wanted movement, then your melee, and then back to movement. Because that's what keeps the game moving. If you can do something short each time and still be moving forward. When you start breaking it up and you notice one player may be taking 20 minutes because they've reached a level where they get a lot more actions or something, it slows the game down.
So, what do you think our balance could be? Since we do have the 3 actions that they're allowed to take, standard, minor, and move, and a melee in 4th edition can either be a standard or a minor, depending on just what it's categorized as. Like for some players, they're swinging their sword could be a minor action compared to some players who are swinging their sword and it be a standard action. It all depends on the player, their class, their feats, whatever they might have to do that. Is it something I know the players have definitely been trying to get better at? Like Lila's really good at it. I've seen her do it. She actually sits there and before her turn, she will have all her stuff written out, what she's going to do, and I think Alderath does it too. Ty has been trying to get into that habit as well, where they have their stuff written, what they're going to do, and then when it comes to their turn, they're basically just dictating to me what they're doing.
Right, and that's what it should be. Like I said, I think one of your biggest hangups is table talk, cross talking across the table, because a lot of the talk that was going on the other night was questions. You don't have that kind of time in a real battle, so why would you allow it on your battle time in a game? I think it would shorten up your play a lot better. You could get more accomplished. You could go to a lot more different aspects of what you're doing, and it could be all just as fun.
So now, let's say, for example, like the other night, they were fighting Loth. If when they got into the room and stuff was going on, if they, let's say, wanted to surround her in some capacity, is that the type of table talk that would be okay? Because they're trying to formulate a plan on how to surround a boss or attack a boss together?
Okay, commands are different than table talk. Table talk is where you're just kind of discussing what you all should already know. Okay, now if you get into a room once you're in there, and anybody doesn't have to be a leader, but anybody that sees somebody might have an advantage point, they can scream out their name and say, "Move to your right, move around." Those are commands. When you start going, well, should I cast this spell or should I cast that spell or should I summon this? That's table talk.
Gotcha.
I think sometimes what the problem that we run into is when we have a plan for like we try to formulate a plan before we even start playing, but I think sometimes when we get into battle, things don't work out the way that we think they're going to. So then we have to change up our plan. So I think a lot of time our table talk is more of like, okay, the plan that we had isn't working, so we have to figure out what we're going to do. And since we we try to at least I try to suggest something, and since Ty is our leader, I usually like to hear her say, yeah, okay, like that's a good idea. We kind of all throw out ideas and like let her pick the best thing. So I think that's a lot of our table talk is just our plan isn't working the way we want it to. So now we have to come up with a different plan. And if we don't know what we're going into, it's hard to formulate a plan before we get there.
Yeah, you'll never, ever know what you're going into. So you just got to accept that as a fact of life. So you have to have some kind of contingency when you get into the room. Now, with that being said, I have had parties that say, we open the door. If if we decide to go into the room, which would be a leader call based on what the door opener sees in the room, like if it's easy monsters, what happens is your tank or door opener goes through the door, followed by a couple more fighters or tanks that are on the sides of the door. So they follow him in. And those people, you can always formulate, okay, the guy that was standing on the right hand side of the door, when he goes through the door, he goes to the right. The guy standing on the left hand side of the door goes to the left. You know, if there's some kind of simple monster or something in there, your door opener can kneel down before he goes into the room, letting your archers that are behind him and your magic user or whatever be able to use their turns to attack. And then your fighters go in and separate. And you can do that pretty much for everybody in the party. They can have sides of the door that they'll start to fan out so that they can flank different opponents. That's just kind of learning. Once you guys learn the game and learn how each other moves and what your strengths and stuff are, you'll start to clarify some of that amongst yourselves, and then you'll be okay. But once you reach a room, to us, table talk was never allowed unless it was barking an order at somebody or something. No other table talk, no questions, nothing. You can't talk to the DM unless it's basic questions. Like how far can I see in the room? How many monsters do I see? Stuff like that. It's not like, well, can I do this? You should already know if you could do that or not. But that's just learning the game.
So now their lineup is basically Alderath and Korgoth, who are not here, are their tanks.
Yeah.
Ty and Lila are more of controllers, to where they do a lot of things with zones and creating that sort of magic, and their companions. Iolanth is their cleric. Snitch is more of the spellcaster of the group, to where he's casting his fireballs. He can summon his cannon fodder minions, so to speak, because he's a necromancer. And so from that sort of party setup, they're at a door. What kind of, as a suggestion, what kind of lineup should they have?
Well, your two tanks, okay, you should alternate. What I would do anyway, you should alternate between the tanks on opening the door. That way, in case there happens to be a trap, one guy's not taking the blunt because he's opening the door all the time, unless he's really, really stout and has a lot of hit points. But still, you don't want any one character getting a lot of damage to him. And then since you only have two tanks, you can formulate a plan between the two of them. Whichever one opens the door goes to the right once they get in the door. The other one goes right behind him to the left. If you've got people standing along the back wall that may have arrows or spells that they can get off pretty quickly, or send companion dogs in to attack, or animals, I should say, because they're not always dogs. You could send animals in to attack, and then the fighters are there to make room for anyone else that's coming through the door behind them, so that they have space to start doing their job and being able to label or level an attack at whatever they see in there. You got to remember, when you go through a door, the person opening the door can only yell out what he sees based on the width of the door. Once he gets in there, there may be twice as much as what he saw the first time. And everybody else will kind of be in the dark until they get into the room to where they can see targets for themselves. But that's kind of how I would do it. We always had people with bows that always had their backs to the wall and would fire past the tanks to into the room if need be. And then the tanks would move in, and then everybody else would pile in behind them. But the tanks would would try to make sure that there's an area inside the room, inside the door, where everybody else would have room to come in and not worry about getting smacked first thing. That way they'd have time to fan out or something. It's sort of like if you watch a cop movie on how they train, like this person's in charge of watching the right corner. The other person that goes in behind him's in charge of checking the left side to make sure there's no threat there, you know, and then people come in behind and most of the time they will move forward, you know, so that you're arching a square room. You'll have an arch of vision there with your players so that everybody should have room, and that way they can back each other up. Then your spellcasters, thieves, or anything like that should be your last ones into the room, because they're the ones that typically don't have the hit points to withstand physical attack, and then they can cast spells and stuff over the top of the party in order to help the people that are in the front taking the brunt of the attacks.
And then where should the cleric be?
Cleric's usually in the middle, always back toward the middle, because cleric is your most valuable pawn. If people start getting hurt, they can try and lay on hands from behind them to heal light wounds, more major wounds or whatever, where they're needed. And that way they're still not to where they can get hit. If you have a good stout cleric, they can always try and take on their own opponent if need be. But typically I keep clerics in a safe place, and magic users just as well, because magic users have less points than clerics typically.
Okay. And the zone creators like Ty and Lila who create zones, should they be on more so towards the back or also somewhat in the center?
Well, I'm not sure what you're counting as a zone, because your fighters, I mean, if zone is a new thing in 4 edition, then I'm sorry, I'm not.
Ty, Lila, why don't you explain to him what one of your zones does, for example?
Grab your thing.
Hold on, I gotta grab my paperwork.
So I know, like, all right. Typically, some of the zones are something where we are casting a magical area, and it'll have effects to it, whether like the terrain will be difficult, or it'll be something like, I think don't you have one that has something to do with like vines or something?
Yeah, I have the mist too.
Yeah,
So
the mist one's new.
Okay, so you're just basically talking about an area effect spell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's, you know, that your magic users move in, and then they can see what they can see, and at that point they should determine on their own where their area effect spell is most needed based on what they now see in the room. So it wouldn't be a question of you know, if you've got multiple magic users or something, spellcasters, I should say, you know, you can do that like the tanks do. Okay, you go to the right, I go to the left once we get in the door. It can be that simple beforehand. And then if you get in there and there's nothing to the right or there's nothing to the left, then you just have to learn to adjust and either go for the middle or help out on the other side if there's nothing on your side.
And so now Iolanth, for example, he is somewhat tankish. You are a what's your class?
Like a battle cleric.
Okay. Yeah.
Geared more towards tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he can also help when it comes to Korgoth and Alderath, but he still somewhat stays maybe a little bit behind because it's still his job to heal.
Yeah, something good for him is if he has any kind of a bow proficiency, he could do that and still be a good tank. If he has a throwing axe proficiency, he can always throw axes and stuff to be doing strength damage on stuff and still have his backup main weapons in case something gets through to him. But then he's still kind of free to also heal people if he needs to.
Yeah, I do have a bow proficiency, and most of my spells are ranged.
Yeah, see if it was my party, you would be one of my archers against the back wall
Okay.
because you'd have your tanks that open the door and you just formulate a plan. You know, you're like, okay, when you open the door, if you see something in there you think we need to go attack, just yell out something. It can be anywhere. It can be one word, you know, just a key word, and then he could kneel down and you could shoot right over top of him at whatever you see. And
Okay.
then he can get up and move into the room. The other tank can be right behind him. Um, then if you wanted to play it that way, you could move in and loft a couple of more arrows past them. I mean, because they're going to split. One's going to go to the right, one's going to the left. You know, they're not going to leave the middle completely open, but there's going to be space to them like you would in a football formation. There's going to be a little space. You could fire right between them and shoot something if you have to. And then you'd be up there to be able to heal or start attacking with strength weapons or whatever. And then the rest of the party could move in as support to help.
Cool. No, that sounds like a cool idea.
It's all learning. Trust me, I've done this for 40 years. You know, it's I can't tell you everything unless you got 40 years to spend. But you figure these things out. You figure what works best for you. If you need to change weapons or something, you figure, okay, well maybe this weapon would be better. If you've got a high strength, you know, you could go with a spear. You know, and a spear you could use as just a poking weapon to do damage if something gets that close to you, or if not, you could throw that in between the two fighters at something, and that way you get your strength damage as well. You know, I mean, just all kinds of different aspects you can do to this.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm curious, in first and second edition, when these guys walk into a room or are investigating a room, they have to do certain checks: perception, insight. If there's an item on the wall, they do a history check to see if it's something they might know. Are there checks like that in first and second edition?
There are, but they're typically more spells. Like I think one of them's called like a lore spell, which would give you the history of something. And based off your role, it's whether you know the history or not on it, or whether you pick up some of the history you might have heard about the item or something. So there are countermeasures. What first edition was pretty simple. It was move, initiative, attack, and then you're back to move. It was pretty simple. People started complaining that they wanted more for their character. They wanted to personalize it more. You know, you can do your own character personalization without having a bunch of options. And so they start adding all these options called proficiencies. Well, now you got somebody that's proficient in backflips, somebody that's proficient in juggling. Like that's going to come in handy in a battle. They just came up with so many things, and it just kind of killed it for me. It's like nobody's going to ever use these things unless they're in town, and we never had anybody use them then. Um, so they've just tried to stretch to give players more options for their characters to do and to be, almost like a video game. But when you do all this on pen and paper and rolling dice, it kind of loses its flair to me.
So how would they in first or second? How would they investigate a room? How would that go?
Okay. Well, let me do. I've put a story up on my server that talks about opening two doors in what they thought or what they assumed was one room, but it came to a four-way intersection, and so there was a door in one spot, and then around the corner was a door that they assumed was going to go into the same room. So they thought they was going to surprise whatever might be in this room by opening two doors at once. Happened to be two different rooms. Almost got them all killed. But typically, if it's just a standard, my standard rooms are typically 30 by 30, 40 by 40, something like that. Just a nice square room. It draws nice. Okay. So if you've got a door that you're in front of, you do your door opening procedure. Um, if you don't have a thief, which is highly recommended in dungeons because most of the doors seem to be trapped. I'd say probably 65% are trapped. So you want a thief that would say he's checking for traps. And see there again, the party leader, since you already have a door opening procedure, the party leader would go, okay, check for traps. The thief, just so you've got that verbal okay from him, would say, I'm going to check the door for traps. They roll to see if he finds any. My big thing is play on words. I say, you don't appear to find a trap. Now, he relays that to the party leader because none of this conversation is shared with the entire party. They hear it as a player. You have to remember you have to keep your character separate in its knowledge than the player knows. Okay, so that's a lot to do with role playing. And so he would say, it appears I don't find a trap. Now, that doesn't mean there's not one. He could have missed his roll. Could mean there's not even a trap on there, so he didn't find any. And so then party leader says, okay, whoever's turn it is to open the door, open the door. So with everybody at the ready, the fighter that's the tank or whatever opens the door. Now, when he opens the door, he'll tell me, I look into the room. Okay. And if there's something immediately in the doorway, I'll describe that first because that's the first thing he's going to see when he opens the door. If there's nothing standing immediately in front of him, I'll tell him, I'll say, okay, it looks like a 30 by 30 room. You entered in the center of the west wall. So that way, if you're mapping, you can map that correctly on your map because you can't see mine. And then if he sees nothing in his sight, he says, okay, I step into the room and look around. If there's monsters in there that he couldn't see from the doorway, that's when I would describe those to him. Okay. But then if you believe this room ought to be going somewhere else according to your map, then you could have the thief or somebody else that might have the ability check for secret doors or something. They can look at the room, you examine the room, you say what you're doing. And if they find nothing on the rolls, then you tell them you appear to find nothing. And so they're okay. And the party leader's like, all right, we go to the next room. Now, here's one of the things that my people have learned over time. They close the doors behind them. Because if they missed something, a secret door or something, and they left that door open, if monsters end up going into that room, they're curious as to why that door is open. So they may follow the party down. So they close the doors so they can at least maybe be able to hear that door open if they go down the hallway a little bit. And that's typically a door opening procedure through and through. If there's stuff in there that they need to fight or talk to, because you do have those, I guess, rare instances, then you just describe what's in the room. And then if it's something that's not aggressive, then usually your tank will say, hey, I see this in the room. Now, if he's never seen one before, he can't do anything but describe it. He can't say what it is if his character's never seen one. So even if it was like an orc, if he's never seen of one, but he heard of one, there's two different things there. He can't tell the party leader, hey, there's an orc standing in here. See, if he's never seen one, he has no idea what this is. He might have a guess and say, I think this might be an orc in here. But there again, it's character knowledge versus player knowledge. Maybe it's a gnome, and the gnome's just sitting there kind of looking at him. He's like, hey, I think I see this little bearded man with a pointy hat on his head. He's just staring at me. Then the party leader can say, won't you move into the room a little bit so we can kind of come in and see if you can talk to him. That's the kind of table talk you get, because that simple commands, you're close to one another because you're in a door opening procedure. And that's the way we played it. I mean, and then you just go from there with whatever knowledge you learn from what's in the room. If the gnome tells you stuff or gives you something, I mean, you just play off.
Wrath in 4E, how would you conform that?
Sorry, I had a problem with the baby.
It's okay.
I didn't hear the whole thing. I'm sorry because I stepped away. Can you just give a quick rundown?
Yeah, he was just basically saying how procedure goes when you guys are like investigating a room and what you guys see when you walk into a room. And that if it's not something that you have seen before, you won't, just because we have had the discussions beforehand, oh, they're shadow creatures and this and that. If it's something like an unknown character, you can only describe what it looks like. You won't be able to say, oh, it's such and such.
Yeah, so typically that's why when we're asking you, we ask you, would my character know that? Is because whether it being, if we don't know it, we're not supposed to know the creature. So like nobody in the campaign really, besides Island, knew much about Loth. Snitch knew some of it, so that's why Snitch was able to roll some checks for it. But that's why, like you even say, there's an unknown creature that you've never seen. So it's one of those things, if you don't know it from your backstory or from your location, you're kind of up creek without a paddle.
And he brings up a good,
but you won't be able to actually say, oh, it's weakness to this, or it resists this, or it does this type of damage.
Right, and he brings up a good point. I just happen to think of based on our conversations in the past. You started their characters out at higher levels, correct?
Level 10.
Yeah. Okay. So his question of would my character know that is fitting for this group, because he doesn't know what kind of past experiences he would have had to got him to level 10. Where if you start a brand new first level character out, you'll know what monsters you've seen as you build up in levels.
Got you. Yeah. So then in turn for 4th edition, that's when I would tell you guys to do a history check and I would explain to you what you know. Yes. That's what would trigger a history check.
The reason they put monster descriptions down is because if it is something they've never seen before, you can read that description. That's what it's for.
So have even in the Discord, have pre-generated descriptions so that if they see it, that I would just tell them, okay, it's this monster in the Discord. Like our own monster manual almost.
Yeah, you can do that. You got to figure out there again. Every game is different. Every situation is different. You got to figure out what works for you guys.
So now bringing up that point, would that be something you guys would prefer I do? That before each game, if I know one of you has the knowledge of this monster, for me to put a brief description in the Discord. So when you come to that interaction, all you have to do is basically look at the Discord and relay it to your party members.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Here's a thought. I would have pre-written descriptions in maybe a private area of your Discord where nobody can see it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they run into something, and what I'm thinking is if they run into something you think one of them has seen, you could give them a dice roll on that. And if it's something they've seen, you could simply copy whatever you writ on the description and give it to them. But description is more for something they haven't seen. Like if it's an orc, I wouldn't say you see this kind of hog faced, big, bulky, with big arms, kind of giant creature in front of you with a spear. That would be a description. Okay. If they've seen this before, I'd say you see an orc in front of you. I'd call it by name because he's seen it before. He knows what its name is.
Gotcha.
But if it's something they haven't seen, that's when you might want to copy and just paste in the YouTube channel chat, the description.
Okay.
And that way everybody could see it, but really only the person that entered the room would have that information. And so the rest of them really couldn't act on any of that until he shares it vocally with the party. Like if he walks into a room and there's an orc there, and even though he knows it's an orc, if he just walks in and starts wailing and doesn't tell anybody, they've got no clue unless they can see in the room and see the orc what's in there. You know, but he can scream orc and run into the room.
True.
So it's just a question of communicating versus table talking.
Now, each of you guys have all been in battle a while now. Out of all the battles you guys have been in, for you as players, what do you think would be a good idea to implement? Or that you would like to see implemented? Because now's the time, like we're having this discussion, putting it out there, we're going forward and we're going to be making these changes. Is there something that you guys have all seen, since you're all different, that you think we should implement?
Definitely the speeding up the battles part, I think, would help a lot.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Things flowing. Like maybe like 5 minutes a turn or something.
So you think you would think that if I put time limits on turns, that would increase the speed because now you know it's crunch time?
I wouldn't put time limits on it. If they start cross talking across the table, I'd say nope, can't do that. There's your time limit right there. Keep them focused, I guess, is the main thing. If they start to wander, that's when you just like, hey, wait a minute.
Like bring them back.
Right. You know, it's a timer's great, but then you might.
Well, they just know that once I put a timer on the board, it's like when you say you roll your dice. They know that.
I do that if they start talking, because what I do with that is if they sitting there talking too much, I don't really say anything to them. I just roll the dice. And one of them will usually get wide-eyed on me and go, come on, we got to move.
Same thing with them when I say timer is on the field.
Yeah, he's checking for more wandering monsters. We got to go. We're making too much noise.
What about you, Alderath? Did we lose him for the baby?
No, we're here.
I'm trying to think.
Okay, what about you, Snitch? While Alderath's thinking. I think everybody's thinking. Did I catch you guys off guard? Ty?
Definitely if we're going to really consider what he's saying, then it's really, I would say this in the end, it's going to fall on you, Dana, of how far back you want to take us to getting back to the rules, in a sense of us using the rules and not sort of using them as guidelines. Because for me, any of the things where we're going to go back to what, because again, I mean, I'm so new to this that I don't know fully even the rules of fourth edition. So I'm going based off kind of what I'm watching out there on YouTube, a little bit of reading, and then what you guys are kind of telling me. So, and that's not even just now what I'm learning from Philip with first edition and stuff, right? So I would say, I mean, it's again, it's how much do you want to rein it in? Because all of the suggestions are really just, in a sense, taking it's like, I'm trying to think how I'm saying. It's really us going back to basics of even just fourth edition is what it sounds like. And again, that's going to determine how much do you want of this world to be how do you want this world to play? Because in the end, we will accept any of the rules that you set forth. It's just a matter of how much do you want to go back, and then how much time are we going to give ourselves, or we like as far as our character sheets and stuff go, because that's where we're going to have to determine how far back we're going. And I'm fine with going back to a lot of the stuff that we changed, even with and I know we talked about this before stream, the prizes, the reward sheets, the crystals, and all that stuff. Like and I'm not gonna lie, the way we came in, the way things were set up, it is very much so. It sets I don't want to say a bad example, because I don't want to like be negative or anything to nobody, but it does set a bad example, especially me as a new player. Like, it's almost like you gave us the bowl of candy at Halloween and said, take as much as you like. And then you just kept setting bowls of candy out.
I know. I'm too. This is where I have to find middle ground, and I know that. I know. I think I was so worried about saying no to you guys this campaign that I was just saying yes to everything. And all of you know me on a personal level, and you know why I became this way. And now I don't know. I don't know. That's why I'm looking at Alderath a little more, because I think you know where I'm getting at with it.
It's an overhaul of our character sheets, which is fine. I have no problem. And I don't want to put any words in Philip's mouth, but us going back to that is not the worst thing. And then again, it's up to Dana to decide how far back she wants to take it.
Well, that's why I'm asking Alderath, just because the simple fact I know it's my decision in the end, but you are the person who helps with characters. You're the one who sat down and helped people with characters, character builds in general.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking you, like, what's your, like, what do you think?
So there's some parts that I agree with, some parts that I don't agree with Phil.
Okay. So I'm asking for that.
I want to give you a really thought out answer. I know the thing is, and we've talked about this between personal chats and, even group chats about speeding up our process. Could it be that breaking it, doing a soft reset with our characters where we don't have as much stuff, but then that's one of the reasons why we started at level 10, so we had stuff, so it wasn't just it wasn't just starting from, I'm going to hit you with my sword.
Yes.
And my turn.
Yes.
So when you go from that aspect, then you might as well just start at level 1 or 2 and then build everything up. But then again, I don't know. Yeah.
So knowing that you're at level 10 and all the stuff that you have gotten and everything like that, should we focus primarily on the stuff just from me? And then you still have your core of what you built, and then we figure out a middle ground on stuff that I've already given you and that you already have?
I mean, I almost kind of want to say yes, because the stuff you've given us, whether it been from gems or that like enhancement stuff, or the companions or the weapons or stuff like that, you've been very generous with that.
Because then we're not focusing on a full reboot of your characters going back to the basics. We're basically just starting with what you guys had and fixing what I gave you to maybe make it a little more middle ground than as powerful as I made them. To where you guys still all have that stuff, but now we've just brought it down to an equal level to what you guys are, to where you're not at level 11 hitting like you're 20.
So like each character has different things that you've given us.
Mm-hmm.
And like I can tell you from my character, like you might not necessarily given me, like I've asked for a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But like some of it was I want to meld like two of the equipments together, or I want to do something like this. And part of this is also coming from, this is the same character I had from our previous campaign when we started this up. What was it, a year? Whenever it was ago, like a year ago. So I don't even remember what. Like my character specifically, I don't want to. I'm only going to talk about him because I know him.
Sorry,
like so.
No, don't worry, Star. She still has her thieving monkey. We will never get rid of the little monkey.
That's my monkey.
So, like, I would almost say let's look at the characters. So I would say, is if we're all basically around the same, but at the same point, defenses and attacks are going to be different because the classes are different. Because then, the way we do our multi-classing is not the traditional way. So
yeah,
it's like,
so is that something that we should consider doing the traditional way?
Can I make a suggestion?
Of course.
So, because I understand and appreciate all the work Jim's put into making the characters. So you don't want that to go to waste because he put a lot of time and effort.
Yes.
Into it, right. But at the same time, I'm also a noob. It's very overwhelming coming in at level 10 because there was a lot at once. So maybe a way to combine them is maybe just simplify the rule set and maybe the numbers. So they don't get so bloated to high, ridiculous numbers. You know what I mean? So everything's easier to keep track of, but then we could still keep all the equipment and everything. You basically just be working the rule set around it to make it feel more balanced. But then we don't have to get rid of everything.
The only thing with that is if you say generic, and correct me if I'm wrong with the way you're saying it. If you say make everybody's, attack bonus, a +5, and then their damage is a +8, and then their defense is put everybody around 28 for AC. Each class has something that they're more proficient in. Whether
and that's what Philip was talking about. That's what's come into play into 4th edition are all these proficiencies.
But that's for me
as
a player.
I'm saying, but that's what he said. He said that's what makes it harder.
All right, and this is where for me, and maybe it's just because I've been playing this character for a hot minute. Yes, my character may be complicated. Yes, I do bring him back to basics with the stuff that I normally do. Even though I have a lot of abilities, I rotate between what I'm in the mood for. So I have a general like, oh, I can do all this stuff. I'm not in my mindset is I'm gonna use my Eldritch Blast. Well, that's one encounter. Well, the next encounter I want to go up and I just want to hack and slash them. So that for me is I like that the dynamics. I'm not just gonna say I'm just gonna be able to hack them slash them, because if that's the case, that's boring to me. That's why I don't like barbarians. I don't or fighters. I know they have other stuff that they can do, but that's why I typically go towards the higher. Like I like the wizards. That's why I multi-class and all that stuff. So it's just like, and each class brings something different, and so it's hard to just say give everybody, X number for their AC, reflex, and or their attacks and stuff, because you have your damage guys, you have your defensive guys, and so it's hard to say, because like, all right, my guy's in plate and mail armor. Nobody should be around my AC because they should be around it, but I should still be one of the higher ones because I'm the only one with plate mail armor. So, but I had to take a feat to avoid the speed reduction and the stealth bonus that I was because I'm supposed to lose stealth and speed, but I took a feat that allowed me to not take that to take the reduction. So, it's one of those things. I don't like to just make it a broad cross what our attacks or defenses should be pluses. I would just say let's just do a soft reboot and reduce our level. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Personally, but at the end of the day, it's with the group and what you decide.
Yeah, no, and that's what we're sitting here trying to do. We're trying to figure out where that middle ground is.
Speaking for myself, it would be a lot simpler to just start at level 1 because there would be less to learn and remember. And I don't know if Scarlett feels the same, but at least the way I learn, like if I learn a couple spells and then I'm just adding to it bit by bit, it's way easier for me to remember everything, and then combat will like naturally flow more smoothly because I don't need to like sit down and think as much. I kind of just know what I have.
So you feel like too much at once.
It was a lot at once. Yeah, it's a lot of because I didn't play a whole lot of 5th edition. I'm kind of a noob in general. But one thing I noticed was 4th edition seems to have a lot more passive bonuses. Like he said before, kind of like a video game. Like it's a lot of stuff going on in the background. So it's a lot to account for. And it would, I don't want to like sway the group one way or the other if you guys want to stay level 10. I'm just saying if we did go back to the beginning, it would definitely be easier to remember everything and simpler to learn. But I also don't want to like undo all the work Jim did because he put a lot of time.
It is what it is with the time. It's like that's not. I wouldn't say let that sway anybody's decision.
Okay.
Were you going to say something, Ty?
Yeah, I agree. Okay, I see both sides of this because I agree with Island in the sense of our characters being overwhelming, but I also understand where Dana came from with starting us at that because of the campaign. Like, in truth, this campaign should be for people who are experienced in the edition, as well as probably this character that we have should have been an established character in the story, so they have already kind of played in the world to be at that level 10. So like had we had a campaign prior to this, all of us, and then you started this campaign as a continuum, that we were in our own world or something. I don't know how to explain it, but it seemed as if we were being pulled into this world in a sense. So it's like we were already supposed to be
An established part.
chosen. Yeah, like the way the story is, like we were chosen. So
Correct.
I don't know if it's supposed to be like we were already, in a sense, powerful in our own right, maybe more than the average person.
Yes.
So that's why we don't start at the beginning. So there's a catch 22 with the style of which we're playing in the world and in the particular campaign. And that's where the difficulty lies for someone like me or Islanth or anyone coming in that is particularly new.
Which we're going to face once Louis starts to play.
So, and again, it's a lot of decision making. We're doing something that, on top of it, we're doing live. We're talking about it on a live stream, Dana. You guys, this is kind of how our team meetings go
Yes.
every night. Welcome to the behind the scenes.
Yes, you're looking behind the curtain. You are getting the initial sense of, but I'm glad we're talking about this live, because you know what? People get to get a sense of that there is more to Dungeons and Dragons than just sitting down at a table and playing. Like, this is a type of game where, because I know D&D gets a lot of stigma for it. Oh, you're just playing some nerd game that, like, oh, how difficult can it be? And, and this actually makes me happy because people get to see that for all the stigma D&D gets, there's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a lot of work that goes in on the player's end, and there's a lot of work that goes into it on the DM's end. And we both try to create a fun game, but it's not just sitting down, picking up a controller and hitting start.
Mm-hmm.
Like to me at least.
And even the regardless of how we decide to do this quote unquote soft reboot, hard reboot, or whatever we're going to do with our characters on the reboot of that, even looking forward, Dana, I would particularly change your reward sheets.
Okay.
I know, and see, this again goes back to however you wanted to play the table, because I know just not just the reward sheet itself, but with the enchanting crystals on top of it, you've opened, and the way you've opened the world building, you might want to get stricter. Not world building, like I'm talking about how you do us with our like spells and feats and stuff like that. That is so open that that's, I don't want to say part of the problem, but it is adding to it, because now, like I said, I still have a feat and a spell from the last two reward sheets, like one from each reward sheet. I haven't even been able to add to my stuff yet, just because there is a lot already, and there's only so much that my character can actually use. Right at some point, it's just extra.
So should I offer people who want to go down some levels to be able to do so? And then you guys are really going to have to divide and conquer with who goes after someone more powerful compared to someone more weaker. Because
I think if you do that, I think everybody needs that to be more on the same level.
Okay.
Like,
Well, I'm just putting out ideas.
I think it would be difficult for you to balance the game if people are at different levels. It might make a lot of extra work for you.
So
see, I don't know, because that's where I have to fall on you guys who have played like Alderath and stuff, because this is where it's over my head, because I haven't played enough to know, especially like Philip, some of the stuff you were telling us the other night, like all that stuff made sense to me. I said, like, you can't argue with logic to a degree, and then even it just falls back on what kind of game do we want to play.
If I might make a suggestion, I know you guys were talking about maybe going backward a little bit, but I think maybe if you could cut down on your table talk, try that first and see how that works, because in time everybody's going to learn how to run their character. Um, Maybe not add much new to your character if you get the chance. Try and stick with what you have and learn that. But I think to speed up the game for you, you could at least maybe just try one thing, like uh, cut down on table talk and stuff like that, and have better plans going into things. Might make a world of difference, and it might make everybody more comfortable to where they can learn their characters and what abilities they have and stuff.
Yeah, it seems like a reasonable place to start.
Yeah, moving
Mhm.
characters backwards can really put a rift into things.
Okay.
Um, Try something that might be simple in the beginning and see how that works. And if you find that it's still lagging on and you've really cut it out, then look at other alternatives and stuff. Because learning your characters and your abilities and stuff will come. You do it enough. Um, Something that I always suggest to new players who get like new abilities or something, try the same abilities over and over and don't try to expand to, like, say you've got 10 choices. Try and play two or three of those abilities and get comfortable with those. And then maybe later on, try a different one. Just kind of work your character till you figure out what you like best.
So out of the choices they have, pick a focal point.
I would pick something comfortable, pick something that works for that character, something they like. It's and if you're not sure what you like, uh, just roll dice and pick two. If you got 10 of them, just pick two and stick with those for a couple of different games and see how that works. And that'll let you know if you like one or not, or both of them, and switch them up. But don't try to focus on like 10 different abilities all at once. That can get overwhelming.
Okay. No, so it's a lot that we have to think about. It's a lot that we have to figure out as a group. I will know that as your DM, I will take more consideration to not. I will start saying no more. I will not overwhelm you guys with the. I'll keep it to a gold based system for now. That easy to deal with, and we will figure out what to implement moving forward.
And not every single monster is carrying treasure.
Yes.
So you don't have to have a list off of every character. So just saying,
Yeah. No, you're right.
it's okay not to find anything once or twice.
Yes. No. This has been really helpful because I do. I know our game. It's fun, and I don't want to change that or destroy that. I just do want to make it to where you guys, it doesn't take an hour for you guys to get through one initiative order. I do want you guys to be able to bang out encounters and move quickly and do stuff, and you know really pick, like, the pace gets picked up, so we're not in a single town for a month because we're only getting in one encounter per game and maybe you've gone once. So maybe I'll start implementing more of the, okay, when you get to the door, what's the pecking order when you guys go in? And thank you, sweetheart. I love you, Star. And leave it to like we were talking about before, Alderath, with like it's a single action just for when you're walking in a room or moving before we actually do an initiative roll and we get into the thick of an encounter. Limiting certain things when it comes to animals and board space and what you guys could do, and take out the crosstalk in the sense of letting you guys fly more than giving you guys guidance, letting you guys take the reins a little more. And where the story goes is where the story goes. I can pull you guys back into point A to point B as best as I can. And maybe I should give you guys more reign of where you guys want to take things instead of relying on me to answer your questions. In the sense of, okay, we're going to this room. What do you think we should do? And leave that more up to you guys.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
And like you said, you guys are each your own player. Like you want to go off and blow up a room, it's not for the rest of the party to really sit there and say the consequences are going to be the consequences, and that's what happens. You guys decide what you're going to do in our meetings, in our sessions where we're discussing the next game and what's going to happen. And then once you guys are on the board, besides the leader doing the basic leading of the campaign that night, you guys are your own bosses. Do you think that would help you guys?
Not. My gut reaction is no, because if we're supposed to be a party, we're supposed to be trying to work as a cohesive unit, and we've been, for however long we've been, even the practice sessions, we've been trying to say, we have to follow the leader, like, so now, I mean, then just to turn a switch and say, and I'm gonna use it as an example. When a few episodes ago, when Snitch blew up, was pouring acid down the hole and melted the whatchamacallit, like poured it on the the two creatures. It's like if it was basically each to each our own, why are we staying in a party then? Then it's basically a bunch of individual stories. Oh yeah, we're happening to be together. Yeah, we're
okay. So in that situation, what would you have done differently? Because he still poured the acid down the hole and it still happened.
Correct.
So what would you have done differently?
So
because again, now if you're in the other room and you're not seeing what he's doing and he can't tell you that information without going outside of character and now talking to him cross table just in general about what he's doing in another room. And I don't remember if you were next to him or not. I'm just using this as an example. I honestly don't remember. How would you be able to tell him not to, you know what I mean? Even though he's stating it, if you're not next to him to hear it, what Philip's trying to say is that how would you make that plausible in game?
So, all right, in my mind, and I may be wrong with this, we have to start saying we're going to be moving as at least, one person doesn't go into a room by themselves anymore, or doesn't go into a section. So even if we do, or it's a group of 3 or a group of 2 or a group, so we split like we were trying to do. And I think we were all in that group, but in that room, specifically?
I honestly don't remember.
I don't remember, but it's more of the part of it goes to. I understand like that day. I've tried to put the challenge out there. So
That aside, we're not even that.
no,
That's
no, no, no. What I'm saying is that could have brought into play, but that's also then as the leaders when we're hearing him say, "Oh, I'm going to pour acid," say, "No, don't do," like us as leaders saying, you know, like basically fall in line. Don't
No, I get that. And if you're next to him to hear that and see that,
yeah. But if we're not, then I would say it's not where we're going in groups of one. It'd be groups of two. And then out of that group,
like that's what I'm trying to say. If you're not next to him or you guys like that's what I'm saying. When you guys are in game and discussing things, in game, how are you discussing things with someone in the other room unless you're stating you're maybe using your calling crystal?
well, what we could also do is then say we're going to implement strategies and say our goal is always to try to interrogate everybody. And
there
say,
you go.
So,
Put that out there so that it's a consensus in the group that. But you understand what I'm saying? And I'm just using that as an example for when I say you guys are your own bosses. Like if you guys are separated and you're not around each other to make that statement of no, don't do that.
that would be something then maybe we come to as a group and say, general rule of thumb, minus the minions, we're always going to attempt to try to interrogate. And that's something we'll have to discuss later.
Yeah. But you see what I'm saying? You see like what I'm trying to like get at with that?
Yeah.
Like if we're trying to what Philip said, you're in battle. And I get that. You're in battle. There are certain things that we do and we get away with and we don't take that into consideration. And that is something I do want to implement because that's how I've wanted it to be. I've just never known how to implement it. And I've kind of just let you guys talk as like you're discussing it. But when Philip brought it up, I was like, that kind of makes sense because if you guys are in two separate rooms, how are you discussing what you're doing when you're not right next to each other?
Well, that's also where it comes down to the calling crystals or some form of telepathy where, we can communicate telepathically. I'm not sure. Like, I don't know.
Isn't that something you were thinking about doing with those tattoos from the Adventurer's Vault?
Yes, that was something me and Korgoth we were initially starting to talk to you, and then I forget what happened, and
I think we started using the animals, and I'm saying animals because we use them loosely as companions, spirit animals, what have you, and then that includes even the zombies or snitch. I believe started. I don't remember how it was allowed, or you just allowed it, or whatever the discussion was. We started using them in a sense to where certain animals or something we would have like a link to. So that was almost like our way of seeing things or hearing things. A slight form of communication, and we were working around the rules with that.
more working around the rules.
We were very using the rules as guidelines there.
Yes.
No, but you see, like these are all the questions that had, like we're just playing, and I do want to get back to some of the core basics, like because even when it comes to me putting down the map or the rooms, I've always wanted it to be, and I've tried several different ways I've wanted you guys to see things upon discovery. Because I think that also makes it like, oh, that's what's in there. Oh, that's the bit. Oh. And I've never known how to implement that. And Philip has given me some good ideas on how to do that. Because I do want to I did want to always bring those aspects of D&D into our game. And I just never really knew how. Because of our camera setup, because of other production issues that now we're getting out of the rules of D&D, but what's plausible for us and what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know? So that's what I'm trying to also figure out.
I mean, some of that stuff I think we're just gonna have to kind of figure out testing wise. You know what I mean? To see, can we do where, hiding the stuff so we technically can't see.
Because it should be also an element of surprise for you guys, because then you get that moment where you're like, oh, like you're getting into the room and now you have to kind of think on your toes, so to speak, and maybe do more stating than asking. Like, I am going to do this, I am going to do that. And if somebody else in the party is like, wait, use that instead because that might help or something, is that still considered like I'm still trying to figure out what's table talk and what's you guys are standing next to each other, you're in battle, and you're trying to formulate a plan on how to move forward. Where's that sweet spot?
The only way that I can really think which way would actually have practice sessions where we say, this is how we're going to do it, and see how it flows.
I know it makes your brain hurt, right? Philip got my brain hurting.
Because some of the stuff he was saying, it makes sense on paper, but then part of some of the stuff,
same thing.
Part of me says like this is where it's fantasy that we're doing, and I know this is my interpretation of it, so I may be wrong with it.
But we're also playing 4th edition. We're not playing first. We're not playing second. We're playing 4th, and there are things that are implemented into our version that are still. It's still a different version.
Yeah.
So we do have to. I'm just trying to figure out how to make some of the points he's made work for our edition, because I think it would make the edition better.
Well,
I just don't know with all of 4E's bells and whistles how to maneuver that yet.
So I think, first of all, let's make it where we have to pick, what do we want to tackle first? Do we want to either get the characters all more bunched together, meaning looking at the stuff you've given us, the stuff that we've gotten from because I'll be honest, even the stuff that I've gotten from my enchanting crystals or like rewards, I didn't necessarily put, I got this because of a reward. So do we want to focus on the character aspect first, or do we want to focus on the gameplay? I think that's probably where we should focus on what do we want to tackle first, because I think trying to tackle both at once, I think that's
then I will put this question out there. I will literally say, which do you want to tackle first, characters or gameplay? Alderath.
All right, hang on. Before we answer this, since when you mean gameplay, are we talking just crosstalk? Are we talking getting back to the rules with the animals? Like, I understand character stuff.
All of it.
So
figuring out the animals, figuring out, whether we do when you're not in an encounter situation and you are doing something where it's like a surprise attack or, a first attack.
That would be the easiest stuff to fix first.
The game,
I would think.
Snitch?
I agree with Alderath. I just feel like we should focus maybe just on the talk a bit more.
On the gameplay, and then see if that kind of fits and works, and then maybe your characters could remain. I'm just going to halt everything for now.
Yeah. That's what I think.
Except the world building. Like, of course, you guys can still go out, get your temples, get your taverns, get your port. Like, that's not going to change your character in a sense. That's just going to change the money in your pocket.
Yeah.
And maybe let it take a little longer for you guys to get to level 12 so that we can have some breathing room on.
I agree. That I agree with. I think,
I agree with that too.
and I'm more gonna say this: maybe having the enchanting crystals, you only get to use so much. Like, you're allowed to have, 5
A certain amount per your level.
per level. Yeah. So this way, it makes it that much of a reward, not. And I mean, you know me, Dana. I like going after my crystals. I like getting my stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to, like, you know what I mean. That.
Oh, I know how hard this is for you. Believe me, I know. But it's being honest, because we do want to make the gameplay better for the people who watch, and we do want to make the gameplay more interesting to where people are tuning in and not tuning out because we're sitting there lagging.
Correct. So, I would say limiting for right now, doing the rewards, because I think the rewards with just gold or platinum or silver, stuff along those lines. I think leaving the enchanting crystals as you have for right now, I would postpone any of that until we get to level 12, so we can kind of fix ourselves. Keep us at level 11 right now. We'll figure out, get the gameplay where we feel like we're in a good spot. Minus, like you said, the world building. I think then it's just coming down to how much do we want to change and what do we want to change. And then I would also say, even putting it up in the Discord under, these are going forward. This is what we're, our companions or our familiars, or, this is what they're going to be, this is what, basically what people are almost put like a new set of rules,
like reboot rules.
So this way we could say, going from this date forward, if you walk into a room, okay, it's only,
now that's only if it's dark. Like, obviously, if you walk in a room in like a castle and it's fully lit, of course you can see the room. We're talking about like when you get into the dungeons where it's dark, where your vision might be impeded, where like situations like that. Obviously, if you're in a castle and you're in the main hall, it's going to have lighting.
Yeah.
I was only bringing those rules for when you guys are walking down that hallway. Like, how far can you see in front of you? Like, if I limit the light source, is it you guys have to be responsible for saying, I'm lighting this, whatever you guys have, placing it here, so now there's light in that area.
And this is the one spot that I'm going to say I liked, and I think Ilant said it. I'm not sure. I think it was him, but I say putting the timer on, and if you want to spend your turn talking, asking questions or whatever, that's your turn. You know what I mean? It's so if you're, I like the timer aspect. I'm just gonna put
you think that might help you guys get disciplined?
Yeah. And again, that will
not disciplined as in you're doing a bad thing, but as in getting used to
pre-rolling. And then, because here's the thing, if you have your stuff pre-rolled and you're trying to ask the questions like, this is what I'm trying to do, or because some of it is also you're asking for a location on the board, because sometimes it is hard to see the board.
Yes.
More of it's
a production thing we have to consider. Yes, this is what I'm saying. There's more for us to consider.
But like, I mean, you can, when we have like from Lila to Ty to everybody who pre-rolls, and you have your numbers, and you could say like, all right, this is am I making sure this is what I see? All right, this is what I'm thinking about doing. What does everybody say? All right, we can try to cut that part out, but at least it's more of a 5-minute timer. If you didn't pre-roll, it's on you. If you only get to move that turn, I think that's a very good, that's a good way to cut the fluff out.
What do you think, Ty, about the timer?
I mean, I'm fine with it because I've been trying to get to the point where, because I think even on one, it was maybe 3 major encounters back. I don't remember which one, 2 or 3, where I was a little sick that night, and I just like, if I couldn't, like, one of my animals, I was like, well, I don't have their stuff written out, so that's the end of my turn, because I knew I didn't, like, in my head, I'm not going to sit here for like 5 minutes trying to figure out what that attack is, trying to write it out, trying to roll it. If I didn't have it ready, I wasn't ready. Then it doesn't. Then I think I said something on one of the turns, like, for my my wolf, like it just stands guard kind of thing, like, just preparing for whatever. I forgot exactly how I said it, but he was just kind of standing guard because I didn't have an attack ready.
That was when we were up there, Dana. I remember you saying that.
Yes. But I also do think by doing the initial first move, first surprise attack, whatever you guys are doing, limiting that to a single action besides your move action, because obviously you can move.
Yeah, no, that's more than fair.
And then when you get into the encounter is when you get your full set of actions.
Mm-hmm. And as far as, and we have to look back at, and I know it's going to be different for Lila, but for the rest of us, as far as like my owl, how that one works, because I know the companion can be out, but my companion, I'm now thinking from the wolf, I'm not going to have it out as
well, we have to
attacker.
look into spirit animals, because spirit animals are something completely different.
Okay. But as far as the wolf, I'm thinking about this,
Lila is concerned, she is a druid. So there's
that's what I said. Hers is different. I know hers is going to be like totally different.
Yes.
But as far as like right now, for the animals that I have, looking at how the wolf is, and even when we were talking to Philip, like how I envisioned my character meeting the wolf,
that
and becoming
I
a
would
companion.
consider that being more of a familiar than a companion, because your spider and your owl are spirit animals, so they are not. They're on a different level compared to your wolf. Your wolf is your only live actual animal.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be your familiar, like Max's dog is his familiar, because he has a whole backstory with his dog from when it was a pup and raising it and like having that connection
So then
with it.
would the wolf would be the one that's out all the time, not the owl?
Your owl would also be, because again, it's a spirit animal.
Well, no, because her and Lila have their sister wolves.
Yes, but Lila's different. She's a druid. So
I know, but we would have met the animals. That's what I'm saying. See,
exactly,
that's where we're getting into.
It would be a familiar for Lila, because when I was talking to other fourth edition DMs, the druids are the only people that they allow to have more than one familiar, because they have a separate class when it comes to animals. And they've all dealt with druids that they have made different exceptions for. So Lindsay would have different exceptions for how many familiars she could have compared to you guys in the rest of your party, where you can only have one. So your wolf would be your one familiar, but Lila, for it would be her tiger, her wolf, and her monkey, because those are things that she has raised from when she was little, and how she became a druid, and going more into her backstory about animals of the world. And moving forward, any animal she gets would be a companion.
So what? Okay, I'm confused. What is the difference between a familiar and a companion then?
A familiar is an animal that you have a greater connection with,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that there might be something spiritual, mental, magical that you're able to communicate with in a sense. Bring like that's will never waver. They will attack. They will defend you. They will be by your side, to where a companion will look at you like a normal animal in the sense of we're good, but if I get scared, I might run away. If I don't feel like following your command, I might ignore your command.
So
That's
then the owl's a spirit animal. So how is that one out
I
all the
have to
time
look.
though?
I haven't done enough research into how spirit animals work, but I know they are a class separate from familiars and companions.
Well,
Hmm.
I have to research. I have to really delve into spirit animals. I'm gonna ask
See,
the other four EDMs that I know of, and I just have to look. I have to do some more research for you. But as far as your familiar, that would be your wolf, and that would be your one. But for Lila, she has three animals connected to her from
mhm.
when her backstory and what pertains to her. So, snitch, you would have to pick between either your snake or your crab, what you are trying to make your familiar and what you're trying to make a companion.
The crab is a spell. It's a
So
summon
it's a
spell. Not a,
conjuration.
yes.
Because in the description of the fifth E that you gave me, it's an actual like animal.
I'm
So you've changed it to a conjuration compared to something that's physical.
well, I'm going off the spell and how it is worded. I was just asking if I could, like have it out as a summon because it is a spell and it doesn't say it
Like an
goes away.
invoker summons.
Yes.
Okay, no, this is what we're trying to figure out, like with everything. And then your snake, would that be your familiar?
Yes.
Okay. Because, yeah, it was interesting reading it. There's a little like paragraph of like these crabs are like loyal to this certain race because of this race gave them
Yeah.
like these certain trinkets that they would hang on them and it would do something. It was a really cool backstory, but I just wasn't sure if it was a physical thing or because then you would have to choose between your snake or your crab, or you're familiar to what's a companion. So it
Yeah.
being an invoker kind of summoning type of thing, it's a spell, it's something different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not living, breathing like Scarlet's wolf in the sense
No.
of you raised it from little crabling that you found at the beach and you
Nope, I
know,
just summoned him.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
so I'm gonna give everybody a little, I guess, preview for mine. What's gonna happen with my guy?
It's
Because
the only one you have.
I'm I've
And I think we're going to have I think it's better for what you have to be put into the same category as the crab. It's something you summon compared to something that's by your side like Lila's animals and Ty's wolf.
the only reason why I'm asking is the way we worded the backstory for it.
That could still be. It could still be a mythical, magical creature that you are summoning to your side. It's not something that's walking through the forest with you. Because if it physically can't.
No, I I know that.
It's not going to just be sludging along behind you as you're like walking. So it could still be but it's still a summons, like a magical summons compared to a calling out.
Okay, so which we could talk about later
Yes.
because
That's an easy fix, though. I think we can make that an easy fix. It could still be that same backstory. You're just changing the way you're calling it out.
that's fine.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not, it's not going to fall under the same guidelines as a familiar or companion. So then you just don't have one because you never really wanted one.
No.
You've never had in any of the games we've played. You've never had a companion or a familiar.
No, even with my and not to get off on a tangent, even my necromancer wizard, like the way Snitch you play with your necromancer,
Yep.
I never did because I never wanted to waste my normal my standard action to summon them.
Yeah.
And the way and I'm not trying to like highlight it, but the way you play like your necromancer, stop, Gianna. Sorry. I like how you play him. Like he's like from using your guys and everything like that. But yeah, no, I've always just been more of the I want to hit you with the biggest spell I can.
Yeah, I get that.
Well, I think tonight's stream we've figured out a lot, and everybody's going to see some new things implemented, and we're gonna be changing some things up, but we're still gonna be in the main story that you guys have been in and dealing with. We're just gonna make some changes, and we're gonna hopefully make it a better show, a better game, a better everything. That's my goal. When you guys ask me like what game do I see us playing, I see a game that I want people to be like, oh, I will play that.
Yep.
This might, and I'm not trying to, but if everybody that that watches after us and everything, and if everybody can put in the Discord or even a comment,
yeah,
because we're one of the things that we try to do is we try to have the chat involved as well.
Very true.
So kind of, what does the chat think? Like, and I know Philip, that's how you came on. You're giving us advice. You're giving us from, you're pulling from your experience. And that, I just kind of want to hear what everybody else has to say. And, does everybody like the way we're doing it? Do people want to see us? Is it more just speeding up the gameplay? Is it, what makes everybody, what does everybody else want to see?
Star says, I vote to just rip off the Band-Aid, throw them into rooms, and see who comes out. Just protect my little monkey.
So she wants,
No, that is. I will put something in the Discord. I will at everyone and like especially our regulars that come back, Kayla, Bitey, Kiwi. I will get them to Dracula. I'll see. I'll get them to at least put some stuff in the chat. Nikki, I know that they don't know what's going on. Like Nikki has no idea what goes on in fourth edition. She's just playing because she supports me and watching because she supports me in Scarlet. But even somebody that will be interesting to see someone who knows nothing about D&D, what her perspective is.
Yeah.
Even though Nikki's not in the Discord, so I will have to catch her when we're on the next live.
Yeah, no, but I think that's at least now we have a goal that we
even Ravener. I'm even gonna pick Ravener's brain a little bit. Because he has cross edition like knowledge. He's played all the editions. So, it will be interesting. It will be interesting.
Yeah.
But before we close it out, is there any last words or Philip or any last questions? Before we say goodnight to everyone, because we've been streaming for about 3 hours now.
Yeah, I think if you cut down on your chatter, you may find that may go a long way, and having a plan. Like I said, I've only got to watch the one episode, and everybody was together then. If you're breaking up into 2 or 3 people in groups, that's going to take a different plan. But I think if you can get rid of the crosstalk and focus on what your character knows and what your character's doing, that's a lot different than being able to reach out to other players. Because especially if you're in different rooms, that's not going to be possible.
Yeah. But this was definitely a fun, like I want to do more of these streams where we just talk D&D in general compared to just focal points of like the campaign we're getting and we're playing, because it's good to put this knowledge out there for people who are thinking about starting a campaign, thinking about starting to play, and they get to learn, okay, this guy was talking about first edition, this guy was talking about fourth edition, the different it puts the information out there, and it shows that there's a lot that goes into this game. Like it's not oh, just look at those nerds sitting down at a table playing some game they can't, like, it's imagination. You know what I mean? That it's more than that. Because I know we as a table, we've always considered ourselves a little family, even though I am family with some of them. But this has always been our group that we love each other and we care about each other. And we're not just players going into your local comic book shop. You don't know who's sitting down at the table. You might be new. Like we consider ourselves a little family. Like even everybody in the chat, we have people who've been with us from day one. And I don't want to lose that.
Because this also, the way we play too and everything, I like the idea of, from the crystals to the world building. Not saying that other DMs don't do that, but some of the stuff it makes our table unique. So we want to also, like you alluded to, Dana, just, we want to keep what makes our table our table. We just have to improve on it. Yes.
And I just got to stop being so nice to you guys.
I'm just going to start asking for Bitey's to give me those. The chat will take it. As long as they give more.
But we are going to close it out tonight, guys. And we are going to say goodnight. And we will be back Thursday night for our next installment of the campaign, and then we will see how good we become. And thank you very much, Philip, for joining us on panel. We will be having you back I'd love to hear some of your stories and games and talk about more of your homebrewed campaign. And so thank you very much for joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I'm trying to post as much as I can onto my server because I'd like to start my game back up hopefully next month. But, life's always in the way. But thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes. And feel free to stay in the room after the outro goes off, because you stay in the back room. So don't disconnect yourself after we close down.
Okay. Good thing you told me. You're learning.
Yes. A lot of new players don't know that, and they just vanish and they don't realize that. But my players, any final thoughts before we sign off?
Can't wait to see where the story takes us next.
Roll those dice, right, Scarlett?
That's right.
What about
Good night,
you,
everybody.
Snitch doesn't feel too good today. Snitch prefers.
I know. I hear you. You have to go get some rest and get yourself some soup and feel better.
Yeah.
So you're all back to your nice little goblin self for Thursday.
Hopefully. Well, good night, y'all.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
blades are wielded, dragons roar, shadows yield, heroes stand bold and shielded. In the night, monsters creep, torches light, stakes are steep, magic flows, secrets keep, adventurers' promises deep. Roll the dice, we take flight, blazing trails in dark of night. Roll the dice, hearts unite, in the quest we find our light. Dungeons hold ancient lore, whispers cold from days of yore, riddles old, treasures store, champions chase legends war. Through the storm we fight on, wizards cast, we're never gone. Epic tales till the dawn, our spirits bright lead us on. In the light of the moon's glow, in our hearts we know, every path that we sow, tales of valor grow. Old ancient war, whispers cold from days of yore, riddles old, treasure store, champions chase legends more.